It is a Friday. I'm supposed to be joyous, but there's a couple stories that have made me furious. So without further ado, go ahead and drop it. Alright, Mordor's in the house. Jimmy Dore, good to see you, brother. And then Anna Experience leading the proceedings for the whole 2 hours here. We do have an amazing set of stories for you guys. Later in the program, Donald Trump is working with Democrats apparently because he got his feelings hurt. He's unreal. So every part of every one of these stories is unreal. And then Hannity we might not get to. Anyway, how he humiliated Jeff Sessions is an amazing story. But look, the terrorism thing we're going to talk about now is, of course, heartbreaking as usual, etc. And then there's Trump's reaction. Okay, so we're going to get to that in a second. But the Chelsea Manning story has me in a blind rage. We're going to get to that in the next segment, so don't miss that. But Anna, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Authorities in London are referring to a bomb that was detonated on a London train as a terrorist attack. Now, at the moment, we don't have full details as to who perpetrated this incident or who the perpetrator is. However, fortunately, no one has died or is expected to die as a result of this bomb. However, 22 people have been injured. To give you more details, the Associated Press reports that the bomb went off around 8:30 a.m. as the train carrying commuters from the suburbs, including many school children, was at Parsons Green Station in the southwest of the city. One commuter who was on that train said, "I ended up squashed on the staircase. People were falling over, people fainting, crying. There were little kids clinging onto the back of me." Also, photos taken inside the train showed a white plastic bucket inside a foil-lined shopping bag with flames and what appeared to be wires emerging from the top. Now, just to give you a sense of how many people can fit on this train, according to reports, at capacity, the train could hold more than 800 people. So it is extremely lucky that no one is going to die as a result of this attack. And the injuries that people are dealing with are non-life-threatening. People have burns, but they're expected to survive and recover.
All right, so there's one rare thing I agree with Donald Trump on, which is that these terrorists are losers. And partly thank God for that. So, because there was a guy named Damon Smith who tried to do a bombing last year in a similar fashion, couldn't get the bomb to explode. Thank God, incompetent idiot loser. And in this case, thank God people were not killed, but they easily could have been. And they're losers also because they don't know how to effectuate change, whatever they think is change in their stupid minds. So they go the route of, let me just murder school children who are on this train, and that'll be my idea of getting something done. They're mad about something, and so murdering little kids is going to make it better. No, it's not going to make anything better. It's just that you're too stupid and you're too immoral and you're too sick to come up with anything else, but mainly stupid. Hey, if I don't know who they are right now. Look, everybody's guessing the obvious, since there's been a lot of terrorist attacks in Europe involving Muslims and inside London and the UK as well. Most people are guessing Muslims, ISIS. And by the way, we just say ISIS blanket, but now Al-Qaeda apparently told people, and yes, they still exist. Yes, there's different than ISIS. Sometimes they even fight ISIS. It's a freaking mess, right? They're all idiots and losers. Apparently Al-Qaeda told people to go bomb trains, so maybe it was inspired by Al-Qaeda. Either way, it comes to the same conclusion if it is in that direction. But even if it isn't, it's the same thing, whether it's like some other terrorist. I don't want to speculate on what other terrorist it is. It's people who, in their minds, were aggrieved, they think. And they thought the proper way to handle it was to murder other people. I mean, let's just note the irony of, if it's Al Qaeda or ISIS. We're really mad at the West for killing our folks. So we will show that by killing your folks. Well, that's what you were mad at in the first place, so it doesn't seem like you're making it very productive. I know it's as old as time. I know. You kill us, we kill you, and round we go until everybody's dead. But it hasn't worked throughout the history of mankind. It's not working now. It's not going to get you anything. All it's going to do is murder innocent kids. So, I mean, how can I be more outraged and more disgusted by this? And again, thank God they were stupid enough that they couldn't get it to work so that anybody died. And by the way, a lot of people could have died in a panic too as they were running away from it. Look, there's no good way of talking about it because no matter what you say, these barbarians get more encouraged. Oh yeah, well next time I'm going to make the bomb better. Oh, for God damn it, right? And hey, they're just what they're actually doing is looking for glory. Oh, I'm going to be the glorious guy who, partook in this war and jihad or whatever else they had in their head, and whether it's the neo-Nazis here in Charlottesville or the ISIS all over Europe. Oh, and everybody's going to talk about me, and I'm going to be the hero. Nobody's a hero for murdering little kids. You're just a loathsome prick who's too stupid to figure out how to do anything else.
All right, let's move on to another portion of this story. As of now, there are still many unanswered questions in regard to the terror attack in London. This is regarding the terror attack that has injured 22 individuals. Luckily, there have been no fatalities. Now, even though nothing is confirmed in terms of who decided to detonate this homemade bomb inside a London train, Donald Trump has already tweeted about this. He tweeted immediately and has already speculated in terms of who carried out this attack. I'll give you the examples. He tweeted, "Another attack in London by a loser terrorist. These are sick and demented people who were in the sights of Scotland Yard. Must be proactive."
Let's just pause there. Let's break down each tweet. So as I said in the earlier story, I actually think, I know it sounds goofy, calling them loser terrorists. I actually think that it's perfectly fine because they want to be winners. They want to be They want to get glory and honor. And if you just ridicule them and call them what they are, which is losers, and they couldn't accomplish anything in their lives, so they had to go to violence and destruction to do it. It might seem a little childish to some of us, but I don't think so. I think it's a fine thing to say. Now, as I read the rest of the tweet, I was like, wait, you're saying Scotland Yard's on it. There's no way. The first time I read it, I was like, there's no way that Scotland Yard already wanted to announce something. Unless they already caught the guys, but I already read that they didn't catch the guys yet.
Right.
So I was like, oh, God damn it. Did you accidentally give out classified information again, you knucklehead? And then I go to Scotland Yard's statement on it. They're like, we do not want to talk about who we might or might not be tracking. In other words, the idiot U.S. president once again gave information he shouldn't have given. And then the last sentence there is, what was it, Anna?
These are sick.
Must be proactive. I mean, if you mean that Scotland Yard and our authorities should be proactive in tracking terrorists, of course they should be proactive. If you mean proactive in what? And then later he's going to talk about the travel ban. Proactively targeting all innocent people in a certain category, then no, you would be wasting Scotland Yard's resources when they should be tracking leads so that they can stop bombings like this. Well, then again, unfortunately, we're back to you being an idiot.
All right, so he continues on with, loser terrorists must be dealt with in a much tougher manner. The internet is their main recruitment tool, which we must cut off and use better.
Okay, wait. This is way worse. Okay, you want to deal with terrorists in a tougher manner. First of all, we have the death penalty in America, so we can execute them. Tougher how? Okay, now that's in the UK. They don't have death penalty, but their maximum punishment is life in prison, and they're presumably working as hard as they possibly can. No, he doesn't mean that. He means tougher as in, don't target that terrorist who did that. Target other people that didn't do it, like my stupid Muslim ban. Or tougher as in, go bomb more random places in the Middle East. Why don't you go and seek justice for the people who actually did this? Okay, but the second part is much worse. The internet is what they use, so we got to stop it. Oh, no. What are you going to do? Like, now he's going to come up with regulations. First of all, I thought you were against regulations. Now, regulations to what? Stop free speech on the internet? Or better use the internet? What the hell is better use the internet?
I know, but look, obviously that kind of statement is incredibly dangerous for anyone who believes in a free and open internet. And I would be more concerned if I thought of Trump as someone who thinks anything through. He doesn't think anything through. He doesn't even have a real political ideology, which is the reason why he's jumping from one political party to the other at the moment, which is frustrating a lot of Republicans in Congress. But, he just says things without thinking about the ramifications. Obviously, that can be extremely dangerous, especially when he's, unwittingly leaking classified information pertaining to an investigation on a terrorist attack. But, in this case, okay, he's saying this, but he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have any real thought process behind it. He's just not fit to be president. He doesn't think about anything he does before he does it. He doesn't think about anything he says before he says it.
And if you're, I'm sorry, Andy, you're 1,000% right. If you're a right winger out there right now watching this online, you really want him to, as he said, quote, cut off the internet. Do you know what that means? Nobody knows what that means. Trump doesn't know what it means. And if he actually means it, I mean, let's assume he's stupid or a liar, like you probably assume the same exact thing. But if he meant it, and you believe in your beloved Trump, and he's going to cut off the internet, do you think that's a good idea? You live on the internet, right? You use the internet. That's so preposterous and stupid, and it goes along the same lines as the Muslim ban. Let's not get the guy who actually did it. Let's just cut off the internet for everybody. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Let's not go get the guy who did it. Let's ban random people from Yemen or Sudan.
Right. And also, the internet can be a great tool for intelligence communities who, are hyper-focused on monitoring extremists rather than indiscriminately collecting metadata on everyone.
I got to say one more thing about that. If I'm the president, whether it was Obama or Trump, I'm furious at our intelligence services because Al-Qaeda has a magazine. Jesus Christ, it's called Inspire magazine. They're very inspirational, and they talk about how, and they recently put out a thing saying do bombings on trains. And here we have a bombing on a train, right? You can't track their magazine online. You can't track their tweets and figure out who the hell's saying it, and then target them and get them. And we got them, their leaders running around, and it's decade after decade. What the hell do we have intelligence for? What, to randomly spy on us? To do warrantless searches of Americans and not actually catch the bad guys? I wouldn't be going out there wasting the time of the intelligence services on blanket, okay, go scour the entire internet, or 1.6 billion Muslims. I'd be like, get me the sons of bitches that are putting this message out. You can't track from Al-Qaeda has better tech than we do. I'd fire everybody in the intelligence community, and I'd go hire the best tech guys in the world. I would do whatever I need to do to find out where the hell these guys are that are bombing us. That would be a good use of the intelligence services, and the fact that they haven't demanded that of them is disgraceful.
All right, so the tweets get worse because he hasn't yet speculated in terms of who the terrorists are, but he's about to do so. So the travel ban into the United States should be far larger, tougher, and more specific, but stupidly, that would not be politically correct. Okay, so I want to stop for a second with this tweet especially because, all right, look, I get it. I think it's fair to speculate that the person who carried out, or the people who carried out this attack, are Muslim extremists. However, as the president, you shouldn't speculate. You should wait until you get the facts and then go ahead and make your statement. And look, if you disagree with that point that I just made, just keep in mind Donald Trump's reaction or non-reaction to Heather Heyer getting murdered at that hate rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, and then when he got criticized for delaying a reaction and then refusing to condemn the white supremacists, here's what his excuse was. Let's take a look.
Here's the thing. When I make a statement, I like to be correct. I want the facts. This event just happened. In fact, a lot of the event didn't even happen yet as we were speaking. This event just happened. Before I make a statement, I need the facts. So I don't want to rush into a statement. So making the statement when I made it was excellent.
Okay, so where are the facts? Because again, for a regular average Joe to, speculate among friends, that's one thing, and that's fine, and I get the urge to speculate. But you are the president of the United States. And so you especially can't have a double standard when it comes to an American getting murdered by a white supremacist in our own country. Okay.
So it's a great point by Anna. Let's just quickly review. And again, I agree with you, Anna. We're talk show hosts. We're allowed to speculate. So we think it's likely Muslim extremists because Al Qaeda asked people to do that kind of specific attack. It's happened before, and it is. Now, but we obviously are more open-minded that it might not be. Because there's other kinds of terrorists in the world. There's other kind of there's right-wing terrorists, left-wing terrorists usually go after like animal farms or whatever they're doing. Anyway, so open mind, fine, okay. But you're the president, and you just told us that the standard was no. I mean, if there's terrorists and Charlottesville was an act of domestic terrorism according to the Justice Department, etc., that you have to wait a couple of days and get all of your facts. But in this case, it was just a couple of hours. And Scotland Yard said, please don't put out a statement. Theresa May had to say, no one should put out a statement if they don't have all the facts, meaning like Donald Trump, shut up, right?
Yeah.
So instead, he thinks it's Muslim, so he jumps right in it. And Donald Trump, are you going to say, well, there are good people on both sides? Are you going to say that about this? But when it was a domestic terrorism about our country, remember, you're our president, our country, and someone got murdered, good people on both sides. He is so despicable.
Well, the only thing I would say, and I mean, you're covering it very good, I just would say that, how do we handle this now? We react exactly the same. I like what you said, we're the only ones under surveillance. Why do we have all the surveillance if we can't find these guys? They have a magazine. That's a great point. We just, the United States government just decided to spend $100 billion more on defense than they spent last year. $100 billion more. So are we going to use that money exactly the same way? Yes. Now, is there a way? What would be better to stop terrorism? What are the root causes of terrorism? Nobody ever talks about the root causes of terrorism in the way they should talk about it. So right now, there's 7 million people who don't know where their next meal is coming from in Yemen and there was 13,000 civilians killed in 1 year from March 2015 to March 2016. That's the Allied bombing campaign killed 13,000 civilians in that. So why are we fighting Saudi Arabia's war in Yemen?
Exactly. Why are we doing that?
Petrodollar. That's why we're there.
That's exactly right. And so when Yemen is facing famine and innocent family members, children getting murdered on our watch because of our actions, you think that that leads to love toward the United States or the Western world, right? Look, and so people will take that and say you're making excuses for the terrorists.
No,
but that's not making excuses for the terrorists. Those terrorists who carry out those actions need to be brought to justice, right? But you also have to take a step back and think about whether or not our foreign policy has been working, and it is not working. It is draining our resources. It is killing our soldiers and members of our military. It's killing countless civilians abroad.
Bankrupting our treasury.
So
my point is, what if we would have taken that $100 billion that we don't need to spend, which we're spending just because it's a giveaway to the military-industrial complex, and we tried to actually help people in Yemen instead of trying to kill them at the behest of Saudi Arabia? Maybe that would be. I think that's a better anti-terrorism tactic than to keep trying to blow up people who are poor and desperate.
So let me comment further on that. First of all, this is part of the problem of corruption. So you say, wait, what does corruption have to do with this? Because we allow legalized bribery in America, and so what do defense contractors do? Well, they want $100 billion extra, so they go and bribe almost all of our politicians. And by the way, they also put ads on television, even though they don't sell anything to consumers. Well, why do they have ads on TV? Can you buy a multi-billion-dollar jet? No, you can't do it. Or a aircraft carrier? No, but they have ads, millions of dollars ads anyway, because what they're doing is they're buying TV's compliance. And so it's not an accident that you have vapid people like Joe Scarborough on TV. He's paid to be stupid. So he goes on there and famously said, when they were trying to figure out why sometimes we're attacked by Muslim radicals, he said, "Oh, they hate us because they hate us." Yeah. And he repeated it 3 times. Oh, that was his genius conclusion. His intellect, the scholarly work, led him to conclude that they hate us because they hate us, they hate us because they hate us. Well, I mean, who would pay someone to say such a stupid thing to a national audience? Well, the people who think, don't tell them the truth, don't actually try to solve the problem. Just put on a bunch of idiots who will go, hey, if you're trying to find out the root cause of terrorism, instead of saying, oh, that's great, so we can stop terrorism, no, we're going to yell at you and say, oh, are you trying to blame both sides? Are you trying to say that it's our fault? No! We are America, and everything we do is wonderful and perfect, and they hate us because they hate us. I don't want to figure it out. I don't want to figure it out. I would like to be proactively stupid like Joe Scarborough. That is what they get paid for, to be stupid. So let's not make that mistake. So if you actually think about it for a second, why do we have radical Islam running around? I don't want to get into the whole dissertation on it, but you should go back and watch the video I did explaining how the goddamn Saudis funded media and changed the culture all across the Muslim world and went towards radicalism and towards violence because of the Wahhabi strain of Islam. That was not dominant Islam until the Saudis paid for media all across the world. And who helped them? The United States. You know why we did it? Not because we're malicious and bad guys, etc. No, the black and white world does not exist in either direction, okay? No, we did it because we thought, hey, if we radicalize Muslims, and they will be more devout and fight the godless communists, because we were in the middle of the Cold War. And then we said, oh my God, they're atheists, those damn Soviet Union, the communists. Go get them, become more religious. And not just more religious and help the poor and the needy. No. Religion means you should pick up a gun and fire at the Soviets. So we helped the Saudis spread that poison throughout the world. And guess what happened? It blew up in our face. Yes, the Soviet Union's gone. Now they're attacking us. And instead of figuring out, hey, maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe we shouldn't have done that intervention. Maybe we shouldn't have spread that ideology. Maybe we shouldn't have also given them weapons, which then a guy named Osama bin Laden, who we helped and funded and supported in Afghanistan, that's a fact, then turn around and use it against us. Maybe you think the lesson from that is don't get into and fund them and give them weapons in the first place. Maybe Jimmy's right, that we could actually learn from history. So what is the most successful plan the United States has ever done in foreign policy? The Marshall Plan. Everyone knows it, but no one in TV will talk about it. None of the think tanks talk about it. None of the politicians talk about it. But that's part of what made America great. That's why people loved us, because we took 2 countries that we were in a disaster, the biggest war in history. One had Nazis, the other one attacked us at Pearl Harbor. Our biggest enemies, some of the worst scoundrels, most evil enemies in the history of mankind. And we turned them into our top allies. Jesus Christ, that is amazing! It's the most amazing accomplishment, I would argue, perhaps in human history. And people say I'm getting too jingoistic about America. But I do. I believe in America. I believe in that idea. I believe we can do that. But in order to do that, we have to think. And we have to actually get beyond the corruption. Because all of these so-called think tanks and the politicians and the media are funded by the same people. And they are funded to create more war, more conflict, not to solve the conflict and not to solve the wars. So when we get bombed by terrorists, unfortunately, that's not a mistake. That's not a, oops, golly gee, how did that happen? It perpetuates the cycle of violence, which makes some people billions of dollars. It is sick, and that is how it happens. And if we don't get rid of the corruption, it is going to happen for time immemorial. So we got to go to the root cause. We have got to stop letting private interests finance our elections. If the defense contractors finance elections, of course you're going to have more war. And by the way, more terrorism, because it helps them bring out more war.
You know, they used to have terror. They had terrorism from the IRA in the UK, right? So that now, how did they solve that? Did they kill all of them?
They tried for a while, Jimmy. You know what? It turned out that didn't work.
That didn't work. They couldn't kill all of them.
No, they couldn't. And in fact, you know that in the height of the IRA terrorism in the 1970s, they had 5 times as much terrorism in Europe as they do today. But I know why. It's because the Irish are
they're Muslims.
That's exactly it. The Irish, by their very nature, are irredeemable, and it is their texts, and it is their religion,
their canon law,
and their Sharia law, their canon law, and you cannot help the Irish. That's why they did so much more terrorism than Muslim radicals do today. It is in their nature. Oh shit! It wasn't. That wasn't true. It turns out you can do smart things to stop terrorism. And what do? We did a peace deal. Nobody ever learns. Okay, Jimmy Carter is derided by all of the establishment because, that loser president couldn't get anything done. Who's the only person who's ever actually gotten peace in the Middle East, which we hear is impossible? Jimmy Carter. He did a peace deal with Israel and their worst enemy, Egypt. That was their biggest and most deadly enemy. You know how much Egypt and Israel has fought since then? 0. Nothing. They have not fought at all. Because Jimmy Carter actually was smart, cared, got us a peace deal. Peace deals work. But they're not just stupid on TV. They're paid to be stupid.
We got to take a break. Let's do that. When we come back, the story that has Cenk enraged. You don't want to miss it.
If you thought, this had me enraged, that also has me enraged.
The Young Turks have been nominated for a Streamy, and the only way that we can win in this category, Show of the Year, is if you guys vote for us. As always, we need TYT Army to back us up, support us, and help us win this award. Now, the way that you vote is actually very easy. All you need to do is cast a vote by tweeting using the hashtag TYT for Streamies, and it obviously has to be a public Twitter account with a public tweet, and you can tweet once a day, every day, up until the end of voting. So you can start right now, and if you can vote for us, if you want to vote for us, it would be greatly appreciated.
We're also up for news and culture for the Young Turks. So Show of the Year and News and Culture show for Streamies. So thank you guys. Thanks for basically getting us nominated, and if you guys do this, and we can actually win. And retweets count. TYT Army is obviously way too strong. Let's go get some more awards and rub it in the right wing space.
Hey Cenk, what's up? And I want to do a YouTube live clip, but not live. Go. Welcome back to TYT Sports. Jason and Francis here. This is where everybody has to listen. I am your host, Francis Maxwell. Jason here, welcome to TYT Sports, Turks and Jerks. TYT Sports, Steph Curry, signed with Under Armour. Tom Brady's mad, by the way. Can you hear me? 500 IB ball! Actually, I'll look in the description box below instead of lying. In the description box below. And it's another picture of the UK bacon. And another. And if I throw in another one, I just really big soul.
Young Turks, Jimmy Dore, Jank, and Anna here. So, all right, let's just do. I forgot to check your tweets. I'm in such a rage. Okay, so Anna, let's do the story.
All right. Harvard University has rescinded its invitation to Chelsea Manning as a visiting fellow. Now, visiting fellows are individuals who visit the campus and attend several different events, sometimes on the same day, sometimes through a series of days, in order to be part of discussions relevant to their expertise. Now, the reason why they decided to rescind Chelsea Manning's invitation is because there were establishment types, particularly people like CIA Director Mike Pompeo, who took action against Harvard because of the fact that they decided to hire Chelsea Manning as a visiting fellow. Now, Mike Pompeo was supposed to appear for a speaking engagement. He canceled it. And then also Mike Morrell, who is an ex-CIA chief, just decided to resign from Harvard as a result of Chelsea Manning being invited. Now, let me give you more details. Apparently, the dean is the individual who made the decision to scrap Chelsea Manning from the events. The Harvard University Institute of Politics invitation for Chelsea Manning to serve as a visiting fellow for the 2017-2018 academic year, he says, was a mistake and is being withdrawn. And again, this is the dean of the John F. Kennedy School of Government. He released this statement on Friday, today. He also continues to say, I now think that designating Chelsea Manning as a visiting fellow was a mistake for which I accept responsibility. Therefore, we are withdrawing the invitation to her to serve as a visiting fellow and the perceived honor that it implies to some people, while maintaining the invitation for her to spend a day at the Kennedy School and speak in the forum.
Wow, thank you so much. So generous of you. Well, you're allowed. Is she allowed to go on campus? Is she allowed to walk through Harvard Yard? Thank you so much. All right, let me go to war here. So I can't believe they did this, and maybe it's because I'm naive. But okay. At least we now know Harvard's true colors. So Harvard is a member of the establishment. I get it. So a lot of people say, of course, Jane, are you crazy? So they think they would rather kowtow to the CIA. They would rather do propaganda for the CIA than actually speak truth to power. So at least you know what Harvard's about now. It's a fraud. It's not a learning institution. It's an establishment institution that gives you propaganda. So now we know. Honestly, I've lost all respect for Harvard. And so you might think, oh, really? Did you have any respect? No, I had tremendous respect. I went and spoke at Harvard, and I was proud that I spoke at Harvard. And I got T-shirts for my kids, and I wanted them to go to Harvard one day. I don't anymore. And so if all you're going to teach them is to bow their head to the powerful and to kick the powerless, I want no part of that institution, and neither should you. So, look, there's a lot to say about this, but I want to tell you about a petition we're doing right now, okay?
Before you do so, though, I think this information is really relevant to get people fired up about the petition. Now, there are other visiting fellows that were invited to speak alongside Chelsea Manning, okay? Those people have not been disinvited, and I would argue that those people are actually much more questionable than Chelsea Manning is. Quickly, that includes Hillary Clinton campaign manager Robbie Mook.
But, you know, to be fair, Robbie is, like, so accomplished. The way that he lost to Donald Trump, it was amazing. Boy, I'd like to learn from his dumb ass. I mean, what a waste of the students' time that you're going to bring that loser into campus to teach kids how to lose to a guy who was at 37% of the polls on election day. The guy who was the least popular person to ever run for president. Robbie Mook found a way to lose to them. Oh, no, Chelsea Manning risked everything so that Americans can know what their government's up to. But you should strip her of any privilege or honor or anything along those lines. So you can give it to Robbie Mook, who can tell people, run an establishment candidate and a campaign and find a way to lose to a monster. Great work, Harvard. Okay, who else?
So, Robbie
Captain
Mook,
of the Titanic also.
former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer.
Great.
Quality.
Honorable.
A lot to learn from them.
Former Donald Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski.
Okay, now Corey, he can teach the Harvard students how to assault reporters. Remember, he got partly fired. He was so incompetent, so grotesque, Donald Trump fired him. and not for, hey, you did, like, for incompetence and assault. That's what Lewandowski got fired for from the Trump campaign. Oh, but Trump has power. So as long as you have power, Harvard will bow down to you.
That's right.
Truth, learning, bravery, who cares? Who cares? But Lewandowski's he got power with Donald Trump, and Sean Spicer briefly worked for him as a jackass who refused to answer any questions and attacked the press nonstop. That's who's going to teach the kids at Harvard. But Chelsea Manning, who risked her life, who risked everything to let Americans know what we were actually doing, no, it's time to kick her to the curb. It's disgusting what Harvard has done.
It's disgusting what they did to Chelsea Manning, the disservice that they're doing to their students. And just to be clear, I don't believe, and I don't think anyone on this panel believes, that those other visiting fellows should be disinvited, regardless of, whether or not you agree or disagree with what they've done in their careers. You're supposed to have an open forum, an exchange of ideas on this college campus. And just because two people from the intelligence community, or used to be from the intelligence community, can't handle what Chelsea Manning did, they've decided to essentially scrap her, fellowship. It's ridiculous. But anyway, let's now get to this.
Okay, so the petition is, I will not have any affiliation with Harvard or provide any support for it whatsoever if they do not reverse their disgraceful decision on Chelsea Manning, tytnetwork.com/Harvard. Now, this is important, guys, because I know what the skeptics will say. Oh, really? Were you guys, about to do something with Harvard? Yes. I've been invited to speak at Harvard before, and if they invite me now, it's a blanket no. Hell no. No interest. Okay? And if you're out there and Harvard has asked you to speak, say no. If you're applying to Harvard, don't do it. There's 1,000 great schools in this country. Go to Stanford, go to Princeton, go to Yale. Don't go to Harvard. Harvard's going to teach you how to bow your head. Harvard's apparently going to teach you how to suck up to the powerful. What a gross thing for kids to learn. So if you're a Harvard alumni, and we have the single most educated audience in the world, it's not an exaggeration. I have the demographics to prove it. Nearly 80% with a college education on our audience at scale. So you think there's not Harvard alumni in the audience? I get it. A lot of the alumni who are 85, who weren't smart to begin with, they got in there because their daddy got them in, are going to go, oh, yes, wonderful, yes, Chelsea Manning, no good, yes, let's maintain power for the CIA and everyone else. Okay, that's fine. But Harvard also has a lot of alumni at 25 and 35 and 45. So when I say I will not support Harvard anymore, you should make sure to tell them I will not give you another dime if this is what Harvard stands for. And what I want you to do, because I will publicize it, is send them letters and CC us. Send them emails and CC us, and we'll publicize it for you. So our email is feedback@tytnetwork.com, okay? Feedback@tytnetwork.com. Just CC us, and if you're a Harvard alumni, say, I'm not going to campus anymore, I'm not giving you another dollar. If you're invited to Harvard, don't go. And if they're trying to court you for early admission, go to Stanford. Any of those schools. But if they're going to teach my kids that the best thing to do is to suck up to people like Corey Lewandowski and Mike Pompeo and to kick down people who served years in prison, who, by the way, were also, according to courts, tortured by us. Chelsea Manning was, and because she had the audacity to believe in democracy and to believe in the American people, if that's what Harvard teaches, I want no piece of that. I'm going to throw out those Harvard shirts for my kids. We're not going to apply. So I don't know. I don't know if they'll learn from it. And if they say, yeah, no, we're not going to learn anything. We learned that you serve the government if you're at Harvard and you serve the power. Well, okay, great. Then don't. Then that's fine. At least we know where you stand.
So I just want to remind people of who Harvard actually gave into, who they caved in. They didn't cave into the Red Cross or Planned Parenthood or the Catholic Church. They gave into people who kill, murder, and overthrow democratically elected governments before breakfast. That's who they just caved into. They caved into people who we have a torture report about that Barack Obama sealed for 12 years. The Senate took 2 years putting together a torture report. These are the guys who ordered war crimes and then carried them out. That's who the CIA is. In fact, this all started because Mike Morrell, former ex-CIA head, he resigned over this. Do you know who Mike Morrell is? Mike Morrell he didn't actually carry out torture. He defended torture. That's almost worse. Instead of when it came to light, trying to get rid of it, he defended it, meaning it'll happen again. He's a war crime defender. He's a war crime enabler. That's who he is. He also defended the drone bombing, which kills mostly innocent people. And so who did they bend to? They bent to murderers. They bent to the cretins of our society. Against who? Whistleblowers who showed the utmost courage. So you know what I would like to go and talk to at Harvard? Other literature professors who read all those books about this exact kind of thing, and they teach it to their students about how the machine crushes whistleblowers. Oh, by the way, we do that too at Harvard. That's who we are. We're empty cretins of a college university because we just bent to the most disgusting, sick, warmongering, torture-carrying out people in the world. These are the people who we should be teaching our students to not be like, to not have on our campus. You want to keep somebody off your campus? How about the guy who runs a spy ring, who spies on our own citizens, who tries to deceive their own country? That's who the CIA is. That's who they're in bed with. That's who they just bow to. Torturers and murderers.
Daniel Ellsberg was a whistleblower and is now considered an American hero. Chelsea Manning is a whistleblower, and Ellsberg didn't go to prison. Chelsea Manning went to prison for a long time. She served a huge part of her sentence, and she was willing to take all that on so we know what we do. One of the things, she released many things that let us know that the American government, including the CIA, was lying to us. They knew how many civilians they had killed, but were hiding it. But now we know that because of Chelsea Manning. One of the other things was the Apache helicopter video, where we shot and murdered journalists, and then we shot and murdered first responders. The people who shot and murdered those people didn't get a single day in prison. Chelsea Manning served time for letting the American people in a democracy know what they did. So that is an American hero. And you disinvited her and said that you didn't want to bestow an honor through a title to Chelsea Manning, and you did it because of pressure from the guys at the CIA who hid information, that same exact information from the American people that we had a right to know when we make decisions about whether we go to war or don't go to war. Okay, well, if Harvard doesn't rethink this, they have announced to the world that they are supplicants of power and sad little creatures who raise and educate kids to bow their heads and serve the establishment. It is really, really disheartening. By the way, you think the smartest kids in the country go to Harvard, and some of them absolutely do. But 30% of Harvard is legacy admissions. Daddy went to Harvard, Mommy went to Harvard, so I got into Harvard. But people would like to kill affirmative action, but 30% of Harvard students got in because of their daddies and mommies. So okay, we know what Harvard is.
But how many times have we seen in literature that it's not intelligence that's necessary? What's necessary is courage. Right? And right now, what Harvard's doing is probably the most cowardly act I've seen the university ever do.
But one last thing. If you have any sense at all, and you're a dean or someone in a decision-making role at one of these other universities, one of the Ivies, Duke, Stanford, or any of the other great schools, invite Chelsea Manning to be a visiting fellow. It's a layup. You know what you'll have great respect from actual millennials who think Chelsea Manning is 1,000 times more courageous than Trump's director of the CIA. So all the Ivies out there, Princeton, Penn, etc. And if you're not an Ivy like Stanford or Duke, but you're a great school, what are you waiting for? Why don't you embarrass Harvard and have all the smart, courageous kids go to your school instead?
All right, we got to take a break. Let's do that, and when we come back, more stories, including the real reason why Trump is now working with the Democrats.
I just shot a clip. It's time sensitive and it needs to be edited. Did anybody call for it?
Editor.
Need this in an hour.
Shared editor 2.
I'm Hassan Piker. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Hassan D. Piker and on Twitter at Hassan the Hunt. And this has been The Breakdown. Was that good, guys?
Okay. Not enough hashtag use. Hashtag abs, hashtag model, hashtag woke bay.
Hashtag one black friend.
I'm thinking more rings.
I got him here.
You need more accessories. Way more accessories.
I don't know where to put them.
Come on, throw these on. Woke bay, not sleep bay. More sexy, too. When's the last time you posted on Instagram? Too long. Come on, man. No, you need to post at least once an hour. What's the outfit of the day today? Is this what you're calling it? No. We need more accessories. We need...
This doesn't have anything to do. It doesn't. For your gay audience, man.
Yeah, the gays love you, man.
Okay. What else? What else do I need to do?
You haven't appropriated a culture in a week.
Do we have like a kimono or something?
Damn, that looks good on you, dude.
Perfect. How many rings you got on? Do we have any more?
I got 3.
Yeah, can we get more rings on this?
And when you're done, kiss the ring. Look at the camera. Kiss the ring. Maybe like a little wink.
Islam's role in terrorism and all the Huffington Post articles weren't doing well. I was in.
How many likes did our last outfit of the day picture have?
Only like 10,000.
So I think that's where your focus needs to be. I hear you on all the blah 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 social issue. We need to focus on followers.
Kids in Yemen.
We don't care if you sleep at night.
Dab, mother. Dab.
Okay, dab. There you go.
More.
Talk about yourself more.
I'm Hassan Piker. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, be more into it.
Instagram is important for me. Americans losing access to healthcare coverage.
I hear you. Attack Tommy more.
I've done it. So many. She shoots out of her living room now. It's like punching down now.
We're okay with that. It helps the brand.
We made you. We got you verified.
You're nothing
come
without
on.
us.
So I don't know what else I need to do here.
Just take off that shirt.
That's exactly why Tommy Lauren is stupid. I hate you. I'm Hassan Piker. Follow me on Instagram.
Hashtag woke bay.
Hashtag woke bay. Please follow me. Please. Hey, what's up? Aaron, what do you like better? The Ravy or the Ravy? Go.
You. Young Turks, lots to do, so just a couple comments here. Karen Ola says, I think from yesterday on YouTube Super Chat, you're looking, grabbing a couple billion views sharp today, Jank. Nice threads. Thank you. I hope I could keep it going today. You like the yesterday's looks too, right?
Yeah.
All right.
No, you've been killing it. You've been killing it
Thank
lately.
you. I appreciate it. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. Or you guys are saying thank you. Isabel Laterno writes in, good point by Jimmy. As long as you fight terrorism with guns, you will not win. But reaching out could be the solution. And so I know that we're like, oh, we can reach out to terrorists. No, not reach out to the guys who are already terrorists. Reach out to other human beings so we can change the culture and head in the right direction instead of the wrong direction. Okay, Gabby writes in, fun fact, governing board of Harvard University is a Harvard corporation. Make no mistake, this was a corporate decision. And yes, there are a lot of alumni out there who give a ton of money to Harvard's trust fund. Not trust fund, it's fund. Anyway, and they want Harvard to be conservative. And they said, we're not going to give you money unless you go in a conservative direction, right? And they are obsessed with that fund. It is now, I lost track of it. I think it's at over $10 billion now. Now, does that help them cut tuition? Eliminate tuition, cut tuition? Yeah, not really. Could they? Yeah, they could. They're not going to do that. No. They're just going to grow the fund. So that's what I'm saying. You hit them where it hurts. If you start withdrawing money from Harvard, all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute. Oh my God, this money, now I'm paying attention. Okay?
You know what would have been courageous for Mike Pompeo to do? Actually fighting ideas, right? Yeah. Debating ideas. Like, that's what I would argue an adult would do. So, if I were going to participate in a speaking engagement at a university and someone with an opposing point of view were to come on that campus, my reaction isn't to be like, I'm not going to show up anymore. I am so offended. No, okay, I obviously have strong feelings about this, and if I'm confident in what I believed and what I've researched, then I would want to sit down and debate those ideas. That's something that should take place in an educational setting, right? But instead, you have this ridiculous situation where people, they're just afraid to talk to each other. They're afraid to have that debate.
By the way, we did a show at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government for Fusion. We did a live show there. If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't do it. Okay, all right, let's go to the next one.
All right. All of a sudden, Donald Trump seems to be very cozy with some Democrats, specifically Democratic leadership like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. In fact, just yesterday, he announced that he came to a, negotiation or a deal with the Democrats in regard to DACA and what to do moving forward. And of course, Republicans are furious about this, including his base. Now, why? Why is he working with Democrats all of a sudden? Well, here's the official reason that he gave. Take a look.
What do you say to Republicans who are looking at your outreach to Democrats and saying, what's going on here? I'm a Republican through and through, but I'm also finding that sometimes to get things through, it's not working that way. And, we got very poorly treated on the health care plan, and now you see what's happening where people are going single payer. Exactly what I said would happen. And single payer would be a terrible thing for our country. But we have to get things passed. And if we can't get things passed, then we have to go a different route.
Okay, so that sounds like, all right, he's frustrated with Republicans, but maybe he's realizing in order to get things done, you have to reach across the aisle. You need to actually negotiate and come up with deals that way. But no, it turns out that he's actually pretty furious with Republicans who refuse to agree with him or Republicans who just aren't afraid of him. Republicans like Senator Susan Collins, who refused to vote in favor of repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act, John McCain, who refused to vote in favor of the Republican plan to replace the Affordable Care Act. And so we have those little tidbits. And then, all of a sudden, Costa, what's his name? Jim Costa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of a sudden Jim Costa...
Robert Costa in that case, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
There's Jim Acosta and Robert Costa.
Yes, sorry, I mixed them up, which is... Anyway.
Understand.
All right, so...
Robert Costa always looks to me like the real Robert Costa didn't show up, his little brother's trying to fake it. He just looks like that to me. He doesn't... I don't know why that is.
Okay, sorry for getting a little derailed, but... Robert Costa all of a sudden tweets something that I think is very relevant to this story. He also pointed to a June 27th Washington Post article he co-wrote, which Trump apparently hated, and the title of that was, "Who's Afraid of Trump? Not Enough Republicans, at least for now."
Okay, so let's break this down. He's a child. So, look, if you're a Republican, hear me out. So, and let me give credit to a Fox News host, Chris Wallace. And I saw him say this, and it was a really good point. He's like, look, if he's trying to put pressure on the Republicans, hey, you better do a deal with me, otherwise I'm going to go to the Democrats and then do a deal with them. He's like, okay, there's some logic in it. And I agree with that. I believe in playing hardball in politics. He said, but to what end? Great question. Okay, so think it through. So if you say, hey, Trump is saying, hey, if you're asking for too much in tax cuts, Republicans, I'm going to go strike a deal with the conservative Democrats. I'm still going to get tax cuts, but I'm going to get $2 trillion in tax cuts instead of the $7 trillion you're asking for, because I can't pass the $7 trillion because you're being unreasonable. So I'm going to do this instead, and I'm going to get something accomplished. Okay, that would be a fair way to do it. I think that makes sense. Now, I would hate that. I don't want the conservative Democrats to work with them. I don't want any tax cuts, but I would understand that strategy. But instead, here he's saying, "Oh yeah, Republican, I'm mad at you. Why aren't you just scared of me?" So I'm going to go work with the Democrats, and I'm going to pass their priorities. Now, I'm very happy about that. Okay, good. Keep the dreamers in the country and don't build a wall. I'm thrilled with that conclusion. But to what end? What did you accomplish? So he has no ideology.
No ideology.
Yes. He has no principles.
Yes.
He doesn't care.
Yes.
So if you say to him, kick out all the dreamers, keep all the dreamers, he is indifferent. So he's like, I just want to make a deal. Who am I making a deal with? And who's fluffing me and who's not fluffing me? Oh, you guys aren't, scared of me. Oh, Chuck, come on, Chuck and Nancy, right? That's who Donald Trump is. So we already knew that. And if you're a right-winger, welcome to reality. It has a way of catching up with you. That's who Donald Trump is.
And look, there are people on the right who supported him vehemently, and now all of a sudden they are not so supportive. Ann Coulter wrote an entire book about how much she trusts him.
The title was "In Trump We Trust."
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it didn't work out so well. And, I was curious what some of the, somewhat reasonable people on the right are thinking about what's going on. So I listened to Ben Shapiro's podcast on this issue, DACA specifically, and he actually made a lot of great points that I think some people on the right do subscribe to. Again, he doesn't have an ideology. He was a registered Democrat for decades, and then he's running as a Republican, but who is he really loyal to? Has he ever proven that he has thought through any of his positions? Ever? Has he ever proven that he's thought through a tweet before he's tweeted it? He doesn't think through anything. To him, this was a power game, right? A power game that could potentially help him pay back some money that he owes to Russia, right? Now, that's a little bit of speculation. Let's keep it real. But this was never about caring about the American people or passing policies that he believes in and is principled in. It's about power. And so he will go back and forth, and he is a wild card. We said it during the election, and he has proven to be a wild card. And if, some Republicans were upset before, they will continue to get even more upset as he continues to throw some of them under the bus just so he can maintain his power.
And he didn't change his principles. He never had any to begin with. And so if you thought he was your friend, and a lot of people thought that right before they found themselves on the underside of the bus.
Sessions.
Yeah.
He thought he was their friend.
Yeah. And now he's against Sessions and Steve King and Ann Coulter, and now Breitbart's calling him Amnesty Don. And the reason for that is he's like, well, it was evident that all I cared about was my ego, and now the Democrats are stroking my ego, and you're not. So sad day for you.
So what? Okay, there's another theory. Mine was that he decided to cave on DACA. Because of that, he was upset. But do you think because this is so bad for the economy, right? Because I saw a statistic that said that in 10 years this will cost the economy $400 billion.
You think he cares about that? I don't think that was the factor that changed his mind. He's like, oh, this is going to negatively affect our economy. Let me do something about it.
No, I don't think I thought maybe business leaders that he was close with came down on him or something and said, hey, don't do this because of that, and this will make you. And so he's like, oh, good, I can help out. I don't know. I think it had. I don't know.
He wouldn't know that fact if his life.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah, he doesn't know how much.
And business leaders are generally very pro-immigration reform.
Yes.
And look, right or wrong, and then you guys could get mad at them whether you're liberal or conservative, but a lot of the business leaders think that Americans are lazy and not very competent. and so they want to go to the rest of the world and get talented, really hard-driving, hard-working people to work for less, whether they're immigrants working on farms or they're really smart guys working in Silicon Valley. So that could infuriate you. I hear you on that, and we should do something to fix that situation. But that's what business leaders think, and that's so they're definitely for more immigrants, more immigration reform. So if they're putting any kind of pressure on Trump, it's bring more immigrants in, right? Not less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to go. Next.
All right. The New York Times has just published an explosive piece in regard to the relationship between Donald Trump and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Now, if you can remember, a couple months ago, Donald Trump was pretty vicious toward Jeff Sessions after he recused himself in the Russia investigation. However, more information has just been leaked to the New York Times by current and former Trump administration officials, and some of the details are amazing. It has to do with a confrontation that Trump had with Sessions back in May. And in that confrontation, Trump was incredibly insulting towards Sessions, and it led Sessions to send Trump a resignation letter. But what happened next? Well, let me fill in the details. So the president attributed the appointment of special counsel Robert Mueller to Mr. Sessions' decision to recuse himself from the Justice Department's Russia investigation, accusing Mr. Sessions of disloyalty. Trump unleashed a string of insults on his attorney general. So what were those insults? Trump told Mr. Sessions that choosing him to be attorney general was one of the worst decisions he had made, called him an idiot, and said that he should resign. Now, this occurred in front of a number of, administration officials. And some of those officials then went on to leak all of these details to the New York Times. And look, what I'm about to say is speculation, right? Steve Bannon was definitely one of them, right?
I hadn't thought of that.
Bannon hates the fact that all of a sudden Trump is saying he's going to do something to protect DACA recipients, right? And he loves Jeff Sessions. In fact, he was one of the people working with Trump, trying to convince Trump, don't stop insulting Sessions, stop attacking him. You know what I mean? So
Sessions is super against immigrants, so agrees with Steve Bannon. Anna, that is such a great point, because the one thing I couldn't solve is, why did this story come out now?
Yeah.
Because it happened a while back, and there was a lot of opportunities for a lot of people to leak this story earlier, but they didn't, and because it didn't suit anybody's purpose. Now it suits someone's purpose.
Right, it suits his purpose. And remember, this story just broke a day after Trump announced that he reached a deal with Democrats in regard to DACA.
Steve Bannon sends his regards. Yes, that's a great point, Anna.
Dromsy. Okay.
Yeah, and look, think about Donald Trump and why he's yelling at Sessions in the first place. And then we get into the heart of the insults, etc., and Sessions' reaction. Why is Trump this mad that Sessions didn't show loyalty by ending an investigation of Trump? Like, would I go out of the path of legality and humiliate my own attorney general in front of everybody if there was an investigation about something I didn't do? But if I did it, and I know that it's going to wind up really, really poorly for me, I go, God damn it, Jeff, why did you recuse yourself? You were supposed to be loyal and end that investigation, right or wrong, legal or not legal. You're such an idiot. What he's saying is, you idiot, I didn't tell you I did it, but isn't it obvious I did it? You were supposed to be smart enough to figure out I did it and cover up for me. That's why I hired you.
It's amazing. Okay, so the next part of the story has to do with Sessions' reaction to getting insulted in front of all those people by Trump.
I heard the worst insult though was that Trump said he called him Granny from Beverly Hillbillies, and that really hurt his feelings.
That's funny because we put the title "Sad Baby" on this, right? And I'm going in the opposite direction. I think I'm starting to see he does look like a baby in some way.
Yeah.
Right, like baby boss or something, baby attorney general. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
So according to the New York Times, here is how Jeff Sessions reacted to getting insulted. Ashen and emotional, Mr. Sessions told
Action. An emotional, sad baby.
Emotional snowflake.
Ashen and emotional, Mr. Sessions told the president he would quit and sent a resignation letter to the White House, and that's according to 4 people who were told details of the meeting. Mr. Sessions would later tell associates that the demeaning way the president addressed him was the most humiliating experience in his decades of public life. Trump ended up rejecting Sessions' May resignation letter after senior members of his administration argued that dismissing the attorney general would only create more problems for a president who had already fired FBI director and a national security advisor. Okay, and by the way, just to clarify who was present while Sessions was getting talked down to by Trump, Pence, Steve Bannon, the president's chief strategist at the time, and Reince Priebus, the chief of staff, all advised that accepting Mr. Sessions' resignation would only sow more chaos inside the administration and rally Republicans in Congress against the president. So these are all individuals who were either present while this was happening or were briefed on it and were part of the reason why Trump decided to not accept the resignation.
That further buttresses Anna's theory on Bannon, because that's Bannon bragging, I told him not to fire him, but the president's not that bright, and we had to barely get him under control before he did more damage to himself and to his administration. So, look, you see us going back and forth and making fun of both Sessions and Trump when they're on kind of opposing sides in that particular case. So if you're wondering whose side we're on, neither. Okay, I love this fight. It's 2 guys who are totally wrong on many different things and basically doing each other damage. Great, keep it up, Donald Trump. That's the kind of incompetence I can live with. And then finally, I'm amused by Sessions' reaction. Now, you might say, hey, come on, man, being upbraided by the president in front of everybody like that is so demeaning, and I get that it's humiliating. They still don't get it. He's an idiot child. So if a child yells at me, I'm not like, oh my God, a 7-year-old humiliated me. I'm like, it's a 7-year-old. What are you going to do? Oh, don't worry, I'll get you milk and cookies, right? And then you'll feel better. Does it hurt? I know it hurts. Don't worry, we'll get a boo-boo sticker on it. I wouldn't be ashen or emotional if Trump yells at me. I'd laugh in his face.
But think about the fact that someone like Jeff Sessions is willing to go through the humiliation of being Trump's attorney general just to latch onto that power. How pathetic is that?
And that's another great point. I would laugh at Trump. They wouldn't, because they're the guys who accepted Trump's offer. They're the ones craven enough to seek that kind of power, no matter how humiliating it is. So the guy who takes that job is the guy who gets humiliated by Trump and then goes back to his office. Okay, well, Daddy yelled at me. Oh, you're both wonderfully pathetic.
All right, do we have time for one more?
We got to do the last one. I know it's, we got to do it.
Sean Hannity is, of course, defending Donald Trump's plan to cut taxes. However, he's a little concerned when Donald Trump makes statements indicating that he will not cut taxes for the wealthy, only for those in the middle class and the working class. And so, in the next segment, he makes the case for why it's important to cut taxes for the richest Americans. Take a look.
He can't get trapped into this old thinking mentality. You know, Reagan slashed the top marginal rate in the course of his presidency from 70 to 28%. Revenues to the government doubled. 20 million new jobs were created. And that was after the 82 recession. I mean, it needed some time to get this thriving, and it worked. You know, it's simple economics, because those multinationals, those corporations, rich people, what they're going to do is they're going to end up spending money and buying boats, and as Geraldo said yesterday, he bought a helicopter after the Reagan tax cuts. But that keeps people working.
What? Wait, so Geraldo buying a helicopter keeps people working?
Okay.
What?
Okay, so there's a preposterous argument to any rational person, but it really does work the right way.
Yes.
They go, oh yeah, I mean, all the yacht makers, all of the yacht makers are in business. The helicopter makers, they're making money hand over fist and employing people. That is a minuscule percentage of the economy. So if rich people get money, and it's not to say that, look, we got to find a rational place where taxes should be. It's not just to say, okay, there's no end to it, just tax the rich to infinity. But we've got to find the right balance. So how do we do that? So if you say, okay, I'm going to give more tax cuts to the rich, as Sean Hannity's arguing for there, because they will spend a tiny percentage of that on yachts and helicopters. But where do they put most of the money? They save it, which is nothing wrong with that. That's a rational thing to do, right? But that does not go back into the economy. Whereas if you get, whether it's tax cuts, subsidies, etc., to the middle class, which they don't do, almost all the tax cuts that Trump has proposed is going to the rich, okay? And more importantly, to multinational corporations. They're not giving it. You're getting a payroll tax cut? No, you're not. Payroll tax is regressive. It's for the middle class. All they've done is increase the payroll tax, not cut it, because they want to shift the taxes onto you. So if you gave it in terms of whether it's the government doing it or you increase minimum wage, and that winds up allowing people who are working hard to make more money. If you're poor or middle class, the extra money you get, you have to spend almost all of it. So I would love for you to be able to save, but a lot of those folks are not in a position to save. So they spend it on food, books, shelter, clothing, etc. And what does that do? That goes back into the economy and it recirculates. And it actually creates a stronger and stronger economy. And the counter argument that we'll build enough yachts for the rich to improve the economy is laughable and preposterous. No economist in their right mind would ever think that if they weren't paid to think that. If there weren't think tanks funded by billionaires to come up with reports to say, oh, yeah, yachts. The yacht industry is gigantic. Of course, that'll create all the jobs we need.
So this. Can I just say?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the same kind of logic of. So if I'm in a car that goes off a cliff right before it hits the ground, I'll just jump up. It's the same kind of. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work, but it sounds like it makes sense when you first hear about it. If you don't think about it. So what Sean Hannity is basically giving us is the rationale for trickle-down economics. And what trickle-down economics is you give all this money to the richest guy in the country, and then he's going to spend so much of it, he'll employ all of us. But that's not how it works. First of all, as Johnny points out, it's like, oh, sir, please, can I have a trickle? Can I have a trickle of your wealth? Thank you, sir. So that's what it lets the rest of us, turns us into, people who are begging for rich people to spend their money. But they don't spend their money, because if you go watch that banned TED Talk from that millionaire, he tells you that they can't buy all the stuff that starts the economy. They can only buy so many cars, so many pairs of jeans, so many houses, right? They take a lot of that money, as Jen said, and they put it in savings, or they put it offshore, and they put it in tax havens, so it never goes back into the economy. If trickle-down economics worked, the middle class in America would be the richest people in the world right now, because all the gains of the economies, the recovery from this economy in 2008 went to the upper 1%. And guess what? We have the biggest income inequality since before the Gilded Age. So if trickle-down economics actually worked, we'd all be doing great. The fact that if we are all, half the country is poor or low income, 50% of all wage earners are less than $30,000 a year, shows you that trickle-down economics is just a fantasy thought up by guys like Sean Hannity and pricks and think tanks, and it doesn't really work at all.
And they got their wish. They got George W. Bush. He did trickle-down economics. He did massive tax cuts. And what happened? They crashed the economy, and right before he left, it cost us 8 million jobs. Didn't create jobs, it destroyed jobs.
That's right. All right.
We gotta go.
September. Can I tell people September 18th, this Monday, I'm doing a live Jimmy Dore show in Burbank. September 25th, live Jimmy Dore show in San Diego. See you there.
Okay, well, tell them where they can find out about it.
JimmyDoreComedy.com, baby, or Barrett.com.
That's funny. Peter Dow's paying you.
Peter Dow.
Oh, yeah.
I finally got someone to pay me to sell out. It's fucking great.
Good job on working for Brendan.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
They have a point. They really do have a point.
Okay.
Certainly was a little hard on Hillary. Come on.
It was obviously his fault. So, look, we got to take a break here. But when we come back, Ida Rodriguez is going to join us. And all the stories are amazing. But one you got to check out is Facebook was apparently allowing people to buy ads to reach Jew haters. Amazing. We'll tell you about that when we come back.
TYT is unique in a lot of ways.
I'm gonna ask some uncomfortable questions. I feel like I missed out.
So what is going on? If I don't eat, my head's gonna explode.
As I take my shirt off, just goes, is that your body?
Now we move to inappropriate story number 2.
I just never felt guilty about masturbation.
It's amazing.
I could take partial credit for opening up your sexuality.
I was the kid in the pool with the shirt on. Let's just call it what it is. I was that kid.
Well, you deal with the bitch side of it, right? But you're my boss, so that's what happens.
I think we're more like it. They do see it from a frame of the rich and the powerful, and they don't realize it.
The last time that happened, we elected Abraham Lincoln. I don't know. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we unfucked the world?
You and I are a disaster.
Don't stereotype all cops. Don't stereotype all any blowing up like Dave Kohler on Twitter. Oh, that's pretty good progress. I didn't know you could leave positive comments. It's a very TYT thing. So you have a whole bunch of depressing stuff. So that at the end I can give you winning is, in terms of change and positive change, is not just possible, it's inevitable.
Great time to be alive.
Let's burn this mother down. That's what you're saying? Fuck it, let's go do it. That's why I thank you guys for being members. Because together, we got their attention. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, stay strong.
Can we eat in here?
I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken when I had first got my license, like 17 years old, or 70, 80, whatever it was. And I'm driving, I think my dad's Oldsmobile, and I parked it in a place where there was 2 cars next to me, really tight spot, and a car behind me. I don't even know how I got in there because I'm a terrible driver. Back then I was even a worse driver. And on the roads I'm okay, but in parking spots I have terrible spatial reasoning and I'm a mess. And on my way out, I hit all 3 cars at once. I broke all records, okay? So I went, as I'm backing out, I went, boom, oh shit. And this side hit that car, this side hit this car, and the back hit the 3rd car. Okay? And I got stuck. I didn't know how to get out. Like, I went, okay, this, and then I'm like, no, and then, right? And then finally I had to stop, go inside the KFC and go, I'm sorry, I hit a bunch of your cars. They're like, what do you mean a bunch of your cars? I'm like, I don't know. Wow, there's a B? Yeah. I'm like, I hit 3 cars. I don't know. So you guys gotta come help me, okay? Okay, so one, my bad. Really sorry about that. Okay, number 2, can someone take my car out? Because I don't want to keep hitting your cars, and I'm incapable of taking it out of this spot. only think that does sound powerful. All right. Ida Rodriguez, Jank, Anna with you guys. We have amazing stories for you guys. In a second, let me give member shout-outs, though, first. Ben Bernston and Joe Bacon. You guys make the show possible. TYTnetwork.com/join to become a member. We had some great post games for you this week, and Jimmy did a great progressive this week. We had a wonderful old school. Members get all that commercial free. TYTnetwork.com/join. The Mad Lib writes in, no one high up in the CIA is going to have an honest debate with anyone because they know their policies have been indefensible. Enrique Rodriguez writes in, ideology implies you need to have ideas, not Trump's case. That's exactly right, Enrique. Okay.
I like how you say my last name. It makes you say it with a little salsa in it. Rodriguez.
Yes. I love that. I don't know if, yeah. I think I'm allowed to say people's names in different ways because my name has been said in a million different ways.
Oh, I know.
So I think that I probably broke the record on most different ways to say my name. Because nobody knows it's Jank, of course. They say Sank, Chank, Yank, Hank. My favorite was recently, we talked about it in a post game. I was like, hi, and they're like, what's your name? Jank. And they're like, nice to meet you, Yank. I'm like, people usually wait to see it spelled before they screw it up.
Yeah.
But what is it about Jank that makes people want to say anything but Jank? So again, if you see it spelled, I'm totally with you. Nobody would pronounce that Jank. But I say it and they're like, okay, nice job, Yank.
The 4-letter name, my name is Ida, and I mean, I get Ada, but I've been called Adia.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah, and
How
I'm
about
like,
audio? Audio Rodriguez.
Audio.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I like my real first name, but it's spelled Anna, like how my name is now, and then Hit at the end. So it sounds like Anna Hit, and I couldn't stand being called Anna Hit. It's Anna Hit. Anna Hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not Hit. Oh, Anna, bring the heat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, go.
Let's start with a positive update to a story we did earlier this week. The parent company to all Motel 6 locations has issued a statement indicating that none of their motels should be sending guest lists to ICE officials. Now, this was a response to two Phoenix Motel 6 locations that decided to voluntarily share their guest list on a daily basis with ICE officials, which then led to dozens of undocumented immigrants, or at least dozens of people, getting arrested. So I was like, okay, how is this even allowed to happen? A Supreme Court ruling back in 2015 indicated that ICE officials could not force hotels to hand over this type of information. So they were obviously voluntarily doing it, and the parent company here is not happy about it. So let me give you their statement. Moving forward, to help ensure that this does not occur again, we will be issuing a directive to every one of our more than 1,400 locations nationwide, making clear that they are prohibited from voluntarily providing daily guest lists to ICE. The company will also be undertaking a comprehensive review of practices surrounding staff engagement with law enforcement, making certain that it is done in a manner that is respectful to our guests' rights. Now, it doesn't matter what your background is or whether or not there's any suspicion of you being in the country illegally. They would just straight up send their guest list of everyone to ICE officials. So regardless of where you stand on the immigration debate, keep in mind that if you went to these two locations in Phoenix, they were giving your info to federal agents.
So, look, this is actually a broader issue, but it doesn't get talked about much. And even Donald Trump intimated on a couple of occasions that he knew what guests that were staying at his properties were saying on the phone. In other words, they can, and apparently, according to Trump, did listen in on what their guests said. So, that's outrageous. And now, look, if you go to almost any of the big hotels now, they have cameras everywhere. So they have that. And then if you're in Vegas, they've got cameras everywhere. So to what degree do they keep your private information as to who's going in and out of your room, what calls you made, what you've done, and now it turns out some of them are working with the government and handing it over to the government. Oh, that's a disaster in the making.
And the fact that you have to appeal to people and say you're at risk too, so that they can have some sort of empathy
Yes,
on them, is the sad thing about it, that you have to say, hey, your phone number could be given or your information. So, but I just think that this speaks to everybody's a sheriff right now. People who hate everybody who's other, they're all sheriffs right now. They're always policing. The NRA made a statement talking about, and they mentioned comedy clubs. They're policing everything that they want to police comedians. Yeah, they want to police everybody. This just makes me sad. I've been talking about this on stage a lot, and I've been getting a lot of backlash. Some of the people here came to see. I really want these white people to imagine if back in the day when the white settlers got here, Native Americans would have treated them the way that they treat immigrants. Imagine them chanting, "Sink that ship! Sink that ship!" Can you imagine if that happened? And they'd be like, "No, we don't speak English here. We speak Coyote." Imagine if that was the case. There's no empathy because they have no idea, but it's really sad that that bothers me the most of all, is that you have to say, hey guys, you too are at risk, for people to have empathy.
I mean, this is vigilantism. Like, when we think of vigilante justice, it's usually bloody and physical and violent. And, it doesn't necessarily have to be violent to be considered vigilante justice. Who are these hotel employees, and what makes them think that it's acceptable to hand over personal information to federal agents, by the way, without the consent of their patrons, people who are paying to stay there? And also, just going back to the whole thing about people policing each other, that's the reason why I was infuriated with the story that we covered yesterday involving a Transylvania University student in Kentucky who created a Facebook page harassing and directing others to harass a DACA student, right, who has been in the country since she was 2 years old. And she had to deal with all sorts of threats and all sorts of harassment. I mean, come on. Can we just be decent to each other?
Yes.
Yeah. So, to both of your points, there's some campaign in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey area, where they says something like, if you think something is suspicious, it probably is reported.
Okay.
No, it almost certainly is not. I'm not saying don't report anything. I mean, you see some sort of bag with wires sticking out of it, my God, report that right away, okay? But what it does is it encourages vigilantes. Oh, that one looks suspicious. And why did it look suspicious? I guarantee you that an overwhelming percentage of people reported as suspicious had brown skin. And I also guarantee you, and we might certainly look into this and investigate it, that an overwhelming percentage of those people didn't do a damn thing. I would be shocked if that number wasn't above 90% that they didn't do anything. I'd be shocked if they ever found anybody. Like, I don't know, that guy looked fishy to me. I reported it.
We have a case study with stop and frisk in New York.
Yeah, I mean, really, have we ever caught a terrorist because somebody said, I don't know, he looked fishy, and the cops were like, oh my God, it turns out he's a terrorist? I've never heard of that case. No. Never, not once. How many times have we done a story like, I thought that guy looked fishy, and we kicked him out of a plane, it turned out he was a doctor. Oops. Right? So, and one more thing to your point, Ida. So, New York City had Muslims monitored everywhere under Bloomberg. So, not just the mosque, which is already like if you did it to a synagogue, people would be outraged. If you did it to a church, you would have war over it, right? Mosque, of course, invade their mosque. What do we live in a free country? Okay, so people accept that as like obvious, right? But then they would go to other places, the community centers, and then the schools. And we found out that they were even monitoring Rutgers students, even though they're not even in New York. And Rutgers is in New Jersey. And they were monitoring at the time that Brotip went there. Haas went there. Okay, I still call him Brotip. Anyway, woke Bay. And they probably reported back, all they do is drink. Okay, so anyway, and the conclusion of all that, once it was revealed, was they had wasted a tremendous amount of money and not had one suspicious person that they found. Not one. All that monitoring, what did it do? It made us paranoid. It made us doubt one another. And at the end, it didn't catch any terrorists at all.
Imagine if we would have done that. If people of color, after Columbine or that shooting in Colorado, every time we saw a white boy with a backpack, we called, I see somebody that looks suspicious. Imagine if we did that. We'd be called racist all day long. It's just, Come on, y'all. Come on, son.
All right. Speaking of racist and xenophobic, let's move on to Facebook ads. Man, Facebook is like, they're in the middle of a lot of stuff. Okay.
Drums.
ProPublica did an investigation into Facebook ads and the different categories that people looking to advertise their products or services can list their ads under. Now, keep in mind that these categories are usually generated through an algorithm, and that algorithm has to do with what people list as their interests on Facebook. Now, let's see what ProPublica found. Until this week, when we asked Facebook about it, the world's largest social network enabled advertisers to direct their pitches to the news feeds of almost 2,300 people who expressed interest in the topics of Jew hater, how to burn Jews, or history of why Jews ruin the world. So those were actual ad categories on Facebook that advertisers could click on if they want to target certain groups of people. Okay, so this means that there are individuals out there who listed those things as their interest.
What are you guys doing? That's like the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I mean, even if you want to cut them every benefit of the doubt that they didn't do enough diligence or what, I mean, you got to catch that, man. You can't. I mean, you guys have billions upon billions of dollars. You can't in any way allow that on your site. And now what are they going to do? Of course, they're going to do an overreaction. So if you say Jewish in anything on your profile page, they're going to demonetize it or whatever, right? No, I'm running a synagogue. Whatever, I'm just being safe. No, do your job. Do your job. It's insane that you had categories like that. And I'd be very curious who advertised on those.
Right. So okay. That is unclear because, remember, this is just an investigation that unveiled these categories, right? And those categories, again, are created by an algorithm based on what people list as their interests on their Facebook profiles. Now, of course, the investigative reporters here wanted to test this to make sure that those categories did, in fact, exist. And so here's what ProPublica writes about that. To test if these ad categories were real, we paid $30 to target those groups with 3 promoted posts in which a ProPublica article or post was displayed in their news feeds. Facebook approved all 3 ads within 15 minutes. Okay? So after we contacted Facebook, it removed the anti-Semitic categories, which were created by the algorithm rather than by people. And they did release a statement. No, they didn't release a statement. Sorry about that. ProPublica continues to write, in all likelihood, the ad categories that were spotted were automatically generated because people had listed those anti-Semitic themes on their Facebook profiles as an interest, an employer, or a field of study. Facebook's algorithm automatically transforms people's declared interest into advertising categories. That doesn't really sound like a sophisticated model. You know, considering how huge Facebook is and how successful it is, I feel like they need to come up with a better model. Like, I hear you, it's better to have algorithms take charge instead of hiring more people to do things properly, but there's got to be a happy medium.
It's like when you walk into a bank and all of the people are like so happy to see you, and you get that bank account, and then you never speak to a person again. And from that moment on, that's how Facebook is. My life page, I've been locked out of it. I've been hacked. And I've emailed Facebook over 100 times, and I always get an automated response because if they don't, there aren't people behind it anymore. It's an algorithm, like they say, or algorithm. To connect with a human being that works there, you have to be Russian. I mean, I don't know. Like, how do you connect to people on Facebook?
Yeah, true, yeah.
That's so funny. Okay. So, all right, look, let me defend algorithms a little bit and give it what I consider to be a balanced look. So, they need algorithms. You can't hire enough people to track. What do they have? 1.6 billion users now? And think about all the content that 1.6 billion people create, because they're not just doing one thing, they're doing multiple things, usually per day on Facebook. So I don't think people are making a case that you shouldn't have algorithms. Of course you need that, right? And so everybody's aware of that. But there's some stuff that
it's incumbent upon them to serve their customers better that they put a human touch on. So, is it to say that algorithms should never create ad categories? I wouldn't even say that. But should you have a number of employees scouring that to make sure that they're appropriate?
Yeah.
I think that they would probably concede now, yes, that was a massive mistake.
Yeah, so I think that would be a good middle ground. If you want to rely on the algorithms to create these ad categories, that's fine, but you need at least like a small group of people to oversee this process and just periodically type in words like Jew hate or whatever it is that these terrible people list as their interest on their freaking Facebook profile. Jesus Christ, people are vicious. Just make sure that you look through this stuff and make sure that there's nothing, objectionable or racist, whatever it is.
Yeah. And so, guys, we're not asking Facebook to look through everybody's baby pictures and say, is it objectionable, not objectionable, or their posts, is it objectionable, not objectionable. There's plenty of objectionable stuff on Facebook. That's life. But the ad categories, although they could be significant, they've got to be a manageable number that human beings can actually eyeball. Because if you think you just get rid of the 3 anti-Semitic ones now and problem solved, I can assure you it's not. You think there's not Muslim hater out there?
You know what's so crazy, though? Through this investigation, ProPublica did not find the same type of ad categories for Muslims. They found the anti-Semitic stuff, but not the Islamophobic stuff.
Yeah, so that, and maybe there isn't, maybe they haven't gotten around to it, and it's not a they, it's an algorithm. And again, it's just that Mark Zuckerberg runs Facebook. They didn't write on purpose Jew hater. It was the computer that did it. We're looking for better safeguards, okay? So, I don't know that ProPublica looked at every single thing, on race, on all the different categories, and it's possible that they missed stuff too. And so if they didn't find anything on Islamophobia, great, awesome. I'm surprised, but wonderful, right? And by the way, hate crimes are tracked, and we think, hey, they spiked on Muslims, and they did, and Latinos, and yes, that's true. But oftentimes, still leading in those categories is anti-Semitic attacks, and that never goes away. And look at it now. I mean, there aren't that many conspiracy theories about how the Hindus run the world or the Muslims run the world. They're like, Muslims are bad, they're terrible, they're by their nature this, that, etc. Right? But do they run the world? Nah, not really. Right? But the thing about the Jews running the world and the banks and the media and all that stuff never goes away, and it's apparently so prevalent. The algorithm's like, boy, this is really popular. So you got to safeguard it, man. You can't. And then in terms of the interactions that people have, you're not alone, Ida, in having that frustration with not being able to reach a human.
Oh man.
And look, I know that they can't run after 1.6 billion people because they might have to hire 1.6 billion people to run after them. But at the same time, there's got to be a little bit better way so that people aren't pulling their hair out when something goes wrong and they can't get a response. So it's a giant enterprise and giant problems, but we got to start tackling this.
There was a video that was being circulated with a young black girl being hung by these guys that were with these Confederate flags behind her, and that video had been shared so many times, and they were sending it to the inbox. They sent it to me, and then we found out that it was a promo for a porno.
Oh, yeah.
But it was horrific, and it was circulated over and over and over again, and people on my Facebook page, and people were talking about it at comedy clubs, and they were just saying they keep pushing this video, and it's still out there. So at some point there has to be. I mean, I understand 1.6 billion people, but it's also a very profitable company, and you're making money. So some of that money has to go back into the maintenance and the security of those 1.6 billion people.
And by the way, purely automated decisions, either way, is not a good idea. So, like I said earlier, I guarantee you right now there's going to be an overreaction, and they're going to say, okay, anything that is mildly controversial, like if you say racism, but you're fighting racism, that's we're shutting it down. Okay, we're shutting it, and not necessarily taking the post off, but if you're writing an article about it, you're making a video about it. Oh, demonetize, don't panic, right? Yeah. No, there is a need for human judgment.
we still have some relevance in the world. So we got, to the best of their abilities, they got to use it a little bit more, apparently.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, a sixth grader in Michigan refuses to stand during the Pledge of Allegiance. What kind of action was taken against him? And lots of other stuff later on in the show. You don't want to miss it. I'm super excited because we have different levels of members. They pay $10 a month, but there are some members that pay a little more. Executive producers, for instance. My favorite thing about executive producers is that we have quarterly calls with them. I love that I'm getting a little transparency and I'm knowing what you guys like and dislike, ideas on how to improve the show, topics that maybe we haven't heard of yet and really want us to cover. We have so much respect for you because of the fact that you keep us independent and allow us to be uncensored, unfiltered, without worrying about corporate sponsors breathing down our necks and telling us what we can and can't say. So if you want to be a member, obviously no pressure. You can go ahead and join by going to tytnetwork.com/join. I'm going to ask some uncomfortable questions. First topic that I said that we would discuss a little more is masturbation.
And then I was swimming in a hazelnut river.
Are you sure you're not doing mushrooms? Oh my God, I can achieve an orgasm by myself.
Fuck that, I am going to talk about it, because there should be no shame. I think a lot about that because I love life.
That openness led to amazing.
And I keep saying to everybody, oh, I got to go call my wife. I figured that was a good excuse if people can't say, hey, don't call your wife. I don't want to release voice.
It's so weird because at that moment I felt this, and it smells like laughter.
At the end, you get to go chat. Nice job. If you're a member of the other person, you too are on board.
Alright, we got a graphic incoming. Putting up 3, 2, 1. Alright. Video next. And next video. And power panel. And dropping it. Hey Jank, what's up?
Aaron, did they change the icon for Vine? I can't find it. He's the war hero. He's the war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay?
You said I had small hands. They're not small. I never heard that one before.
Hey, Al, I can't remember. Is there a specific blur we use for Miley Cyrus's butthole? Is it like a Gaussian or a mosaic or a compound?
news for you guys that just came across, so I didn't read the whole thing. Just calm down. I'll read you the headline. Calm down, okay? Federal judge blocks Trump from denying funds to sanctuary cities. Hey, a little bit of good news there. Okay. God bless. Incoming angry. Tweet in 3, 2, 1. Right.
It's probably a Mexican judge.
Loser judges. Everybody stop judging. Okay.
All right.
A Michigan teacher has been suspended following an incident where he allegedly violently snatched a sixth grade student from his chair after he refused to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. According to reports, the sixth grader, Stone Chaney, was sitting in his homeroom class at East Middle School. This is in Michigan, Farmingham Hills, in his first week at the school when he was grabbed from behind by this teacher. The teacher consultant comes up behind me and snatches me out of my chair violently. I was so confused, I didn't know what was going on. That was a statement from Stone Chaney himself. And so this is kind of crazy. Like, teachers shouldn't put their hands on students, period. But apparently this teacher was a former member of the military. He's a vet. He did release a statement about this, and here's what he had to say. His name is Steven Stevens. That's his name, Steven Stevens. Okay. Anyway, that's
kind of a fun name, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Story.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to graphic 17. He says, I would love to be able to talk to them and, try to get their side and try to explain my side. So maybe we can come to an understanding, because I understand that they have the right to do that, meaning the right to not stand during the Pledge of Allegiance. But I don't believe that they understand what that right really entails. But here's the thing. Even though Stone Chaney is just a sixth grader to some, he has thought this through. He never stands for the Pledge of Allegiance because, as he says, I don't stand because I don't pledge to a flag. I pledge to God and family.
Oh, damn. Ooh, you snatched up the wrong person.
Man,
So, but is that funny? Because if you're a thoughtful progressive and you're not standing for the pledge because you think that, and you might love the country, but you think that kind of patriotism is misguided because it can lead to jingoism, whatever it is that your reason behind it, or you want to improve the country and you're making a point like Kaepernick and others have done in the NFL. People are like, oh yeah, they had it coming, right? But if it turns out the kid was doing it for religious reasons, oh, sorry, oh, I didn't know that, because that's okay. Yeah, being progressive and thoughtful is not okay. But being religious is awesome. So my bad, I got the wrong kid. I meant to commit violence against someone else.
What I want to know is I always pay attention to people's words, because he said they. If I could only get them and they. Who is they? Are you talking about black people? Because Colin Kaepernick is not standing for the flag when thousands and thousands of white Jehovah's Witnesses don't pledge to a flag. Are you snatching them up?
Let's keep it real, okay? Absolutely. The Americans who are the most critical about Colin Kaepernick, who go to those football games, are usually at a concession stand, at the toilet taking a leak, or scratching their asses as the national anthem is taking place.
And
Let's just keep it real, because I've been to these sporting events, not football games, but definitely baseball games, over and over and over again. And I see the same thing. People don't take it seriously.
I was married to a professional football player, and during the national anthem, that's social time. That's when everybody's talking and chilling, going to get their snacks so that they don't miss the kickoff. That is when people are going to get their beers. You know what? I'm just so tired of people masking racism with patriotism. Patriotism means if I don't believe in what's happening right now, I disagree. The fact that we have the right to do that in this country, that's what being a patriot is. Saying, I am American, but America sometimes doesn't get it right. That is what being a real patriot is. Not blind patriotism where it's, I do everything that the people who I want to preserve, the group that I belong to who feels like what they're being extinguished. Is that what white people are saying now? These white people are saying we're being Twitter is hell, and I have to stay away from it. They're wiping us away. They want to erase us. No, we just want to be visible. We just want to be seen. Colin Kaepernick is standing up for people who don't stand up for him. He doesn't even have to.
It's interesting because actually exactly a week ago we did a story, and it's not based on our thoughts or our feelings. It's based on numbers. There was a study done into religion in America, and the study found that the population that's declining is white individuals who identify as Christian. So less and less white Americans identify with Christianity. And simply by covering that story, people lost it. As if we're the ones convincing white Americans to stop believing in Christianity. They're doing that on their own, okay? So you can go ahead and blame us all you want, but that's what's going on.
So I'll tell you real quick that, back when I was a Republican and I was younger, I was wrong on this issue. I remember being super mad at Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who wouldn't stand for the pledge. Now, when I saw Stone Chaney did it for religious reasons, I thought Seventh-day Adventist too.
Yeah.
And because that's often who does it. But he was Muslim. He used to be Chris Jackson, and then he changed his name. And he wouldn't stand because of that. And I thought, no, but America gives you the rights and the abilities to make that statement, so it's so disrespectful to not. But then I realized later, like, wait a minute, look at the irony of what I just said. America gives you the right to not stand for the pledge. So then why am I getting all bent out of shape that he's not standing for the pledge? That's the whole point. And in fact, I now think there's at least an argument to be made that it is more patriotic, not less patriotic, to not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or the national anthem, because you're making a statement about the freedom that you have in this country.
Yeah, and I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, and I did Pledge of Allegiance even though I wasn't supposed to, because they used to shame me for it because I was brown. And teachers would say things to you like, why don't you want to pledge to the flag? They let you come here. Like, they would say things like that, so they would shame me. So I'm standing there, and I'm like, I hope my mom doesn't walk in because I'm going to get in trouble. But you're not Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't pledge allegiance to the flag.
And let's just note the final irony of they let you come here.
I know.
Wait a minute. If you're Latino, there's some chance you were here first.
Puerto Rican. It's a Commonwealth.
Right. I mean, if you were from the islands, and Christopher Columbus landed, I'm pretty sure you were here first. Besides, Christopher Columbus was Latino.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he at least covered a lot of people on his ship because they came from Spain, were from Spain. He happens to be Italian. But, so they let you come here. Like, and people always talk about, like, why don't they speak English? Look at California. Why do you think it's called San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles? Because all we had was Spanish people here, Latinos here. Anyway, all right.
After I did that election night with you guys, I can't tell you how many tweets I got with people telling me, you're going to get deported. Go back home. Go back where you... They're like, go home. I was like, you want me to go to Boston? Because I was born in Boston. Like, but I got a lot of that.
I know. That ignorance, I mean, it exists, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right. A group of individuals planning on protesting in D.C. very soon, this weekend actually, are a group of people who refer to themselves as juggalos. They are fans of Insane Clown Posse, and what they're protesting has to do with how the government classified them a couple years ago. They were classified as a gang, and they disagree with that. And as a result, they are fighting to have that classification taken away. So just to give you an idea of who they are, despite a sizable population of female fans who are dubbed the Juggalettes, ICP's or Insane Clown Posse's following is made up mostly of young white men from working class backgrounds. They tend to feel like they've been misunderstood, outsiders their whole lives, whether for being overweight, looking weird, being poor, or even for just liking Insane Clown Posse in the first place. It's a world where, by the way, this is not something that I'm saying. This is by Brian Rafferty on Wired. He writes that it's a world where man boobs are on proud display, where long hairs and pink hairs mingle, where nobody makes fun of the fat kid toweling off. Okay, so just to go back real quick, back in 2011, the Justice Department's National Gang Intelligence Center decided the Juggalos were a, quote, loosely organized hybrid gang like the Crips, Bloods, and MS-13. The annual gang threat assessment report said they engaged in criminal activity and violence. Okay, so let's stop for a second.
But
They're not a gang. They're not. Like, a couple of them have broken the law or have done violent things, but they don't have, like, some sort of, like, they're not an organized criminal thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, first of all, they don't make any money.
I just think it's too soon to it came out. They got those clown faces. It feels like a little promotion for the movie, but I think it's messed up. But I think sometimes these things need to happen for people to gain empathy. A group of young white men, working class, classified as a gang, like
They're being stereotyped. Right?
They're being stereotyped.
It sucks to be stereotyped.
Okay. So I have a confession. I was almost a juggalo. So, not a gigolo though. I had no chance there. So I used to listen to Insane Clown Posse, and I liked it. And then so I looked into the juggalo life. No, I read a little bit about the juggalos because that's they talk about it all the time in the songs, and it's about that lifestyle, etc. And yeah, they're you know what they're like? They're more like hooligans that are soccer fans in Europe, and then they'll go and they'll cause trouble. Now, do all of them do this? Of course not. It is some percentage, and I don't know what the percentage is, of juggalos that go and will mess stuff up, right? Like, and I don't know why soccer fans do it either. They'll be like, okay, we're here, let's just break stuff, right? And call ourselves hooligans. That is what they're really similar to. But I never thought, like, juggalos, potential terrorists. We should monitor them, right?
Yeah.
And MS-13 cuts people's heads off
on YouTube,
right? So juggalos might do something stupid, but they're not going to cut people's heads off.
And they don't do it as a group. Like, again, any group of people, regardless, is going to have a couple individuals who break the law and do violent things. But to just generalize about all of them is crazy, I think.
Yeah, and if they put them in the group with, like, organized crime, that's by almost definition, they are not organized.
Yeah.
But there might be crime here or there, but that's not their point. So bring it down.
Well, that's where we're headed, though. That's where we're headed. And if we continue the way we're going with the administration, we're all under scrutiny all the time.
All right, we got to run. Much love, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.
broken a law. Now, of course, in El Salvador, abortion in all cases is illegal. So she had, although she'd only broken El Salvador's laws, not any sort of moral or ethical law. But anyway, she ends up going to court, The female judge accepted the prosecutor's claims that Hernandez failed to seek antenatal care because she did not want the baby and threw him into the toilet, intending to kill him. In sentencing, the judge went further and suggested that Hernandez could not have been acting alone and that her mother may also be criminally responsible, because taking this girl who had been raped multiple times and throwing her in jail for 30 years isn't enough justice for them at this point. They want to go farther, possibly.
Yeah.
Now, Francesca, I know that you actually went down there and talked to her. I just want to make one thing clear before we go to that. So, look, if you think that you believe the fact pattern that she delivered the baby and then threw it in the toilet, then that would be murder. Okay, so now the thing is, in this case, the medical experts were unable to ascertain whether the fetus died in utero or in the moments right after delivery. So that means obviously El Salvador has a different legal standards than we do. In America, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. That showed you right there that they obviously did not have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that she had done that. She testified, and everybody else around her said, no, that's not what happened. She had abdominal pain, didn't even know that that's what was happening, and her mom took her to the hospital, and then they realized, oh my God, she had a stillbirth, and that's what had gone into the toilet. I don't know who to believe there, except for the fact that medical experts said there's no way of knowing. So if there's no way of knowing, you're going to charge her with murder, and know the entire context in El Salvador. If this was the only case, you could go, well, he said, she said, or we can't quite tell the fact pattern. But no, they've done this to dozens of women. And for stillbirths, for abortions, and locking them up for long periods of time.
150 women have actually been prosecuted for abortions when they have had miscarriages. I actually met Evelyn Beatriz, who's right now 19. And when I met her in November of last year, I was down there for a story for a National Geographic channel and on their show Explorer. We did a whole segment on it. She had already been in this overcrowded prison in El Salvador for 8 months, awaiting this sentence. Now, she told me, she's sort of choking back tears, that she was raped and that she didn't know that she was pregnant. And so until she miscarried, right? And this happens all the time, and you think it's ridiculous. Like, and you're like, well, how do you know? How does the medical examiner know? Okay, it's illegal. That might be draconian, which I believe it is. It's illegal, but how do you know? Well, actually, it's very difficult to tell whether there has been an abortion or a miscarriage. You can't tell unless there's lesions or whatever it is, but it is actually very difficult to tell. And she's not the first woman to have been sentenced. There are 17 women right now who are languishing in prison, who are waiting and they're contesting their cases, right? And there's basically 1 or 2 lawyers who represent them. One guy named Dennis Munoz. But the reason El Salvador matters, I think, for Americans is that it is a glimpse into what happens when you start to roll back abortion laws. When you start to take away the right to choose, there is no stopping it, and it snowballs. And so, for example, you can, when you start to say, hey, we need to have, we can restrict the abortions at, the second trimester, the third, the first trimester, then we go back, then we go to the heartbeat, then we go to this, and then, the line between what is an abortion and what is considered murder is completely blurred. Yeah. And what is the result of that is women are second-class citizens. This woman, Beatriz, was not listened to. She was not believed. What the lawyer told me there is that oftentimes judges have absolutely no understanding that it is difficult to tell the difference between an abortion and a miscarriage, which is why they're sentencing these women who miscarried to prison time.
So may not understand, may not care.
Yeah. And they might not care. And
So let's give that more context too. So you might think she didn't know she was pregnant. Come on. No, we've actually covered a lot of stories on the show about women who didn't know they were pregnant. It didn't lead to this kind of situation normally. Although one of the stories we covered on the air was a woman who went to the bathroom, didn't know she was pregnant, and a baby dropped out. She said, "Oh my God!" Yeah. And she picked up the baby, and the baby's fine, etc. Totally different case, but it does happen from time to time. And on the miscarriage and abortion, so people who are pro-life might turn around and go, well, maybe some of those were not miscarriages, they were actually abortions, because you can't tell and hence they should be punished with 30 years in prison. Okay, I don't know that all of you think that, even if you're pro-life, but obviously some people in El Salvador, the government of El Salvador does. But also, it might not have been an abortion. It might have been a miscarriage. So how many women are rotting in prison in El Salvador because they had a miscarriage?
Right.
Jesus. I mean, so which brings us back to Jesus. Now that I've given you the full context of it and the ups and downs and both sides, let me just say, we know what happened in El Salvador on a big picture. Catholic groups came in and funded a drive to pass this law. It was back around 97 or so that this happened in the late 1990s. So almost 20 years ago, and the population is actually not in favor of it. There's a push right now to at least get an exemption for rape if a mother's life is in danger, and one other exception. But the government won't do anything about it. They refuse to have a vote so far for 4 months, as people have been pushing for this.
Yeah.
So religious groups came in and said, miscarriage, stillbirth, whatever, okay, no exceptions, put them in prison for 30 years if they get an abortion.
And mind you, just to put some context on this also, El Salvador is one of the most dangerous countries in the world. And also it has the highest rate of femicide, which is murder of women, in the world. There's a reason that there is a mass influx of, people seeking asylum, really, immigrants coming into Mexico, coming then to the United States from El Salvador. It is not a good place to be a woman, to be anyone. There's a lot of gang violence, as was experienced by Evelyn here. I think that the other thing to mention is there's another bill from their right-wing party, Arena, right now, that I met with the guy who's drawing it up. He wants to further criminalize abortion to be an automatic life sentence.
Well, 30 years is not enough.
No, you could get out. And meanwhile, I met a young woman who was sentenced to 30 years. Another woman, right, was sentenced, had a 3-year-old son when she was sentenced, and she was, I believe, something like around 20. She's been in there for 10 years already. Her son is 13.
Yeah.
And
this is the pro-life position.
This is what happens. So it's like, again, the slippery slope. Like, I think when we think about what that means for us in the United States is like, all right, like, this is why we need to defend, abortion rights. This is why, whether or not you're pro-life or pro-choice, this is how draconian it can get.
Yeah.
When a mother's life, many situations where a mother has leukemia, needs treatment. Well, she's pregnant, and that baby will not be able to be carried to term. There's no way this baby is surviving. What do they have to do in El Salvador? The mother has to carry that baby to term. She will die. The fetus will die, but God wins. I don't know, So that was another case. A judge had to rule in that, and finally, this woman's life was saved. But only, and this is crazy, if she had a cesarean, so that it was like a birth, but not right. She couldn't have a regular abortion. It wasn't a medical abortion. It was a cesarean. So
I'm sure she was in amazing shape to have surgery performed on her at that point.
Yeah, right. Suffering from leukemia. So, again, it is. I do not wish being a woman in El Salvador on anyone, and that country absolutely needs our solidarity and our support.
Which leads me to my final point, which is every once in a while in this country, justifiably, people say, "Oh my God, look at the way radical Muslims treat women." Whether it's the Taliban in Afghanistan or some of our allies like Saudi Arabia. Well, there's Christian Sharia law as well, and there's Christian Taliban as well, and they treat women horribly as well in cases like this. So let's not ignore that. And if you're offended that I'm calling it Christian Sharia law, well, that's a sad day for you. That's literally what it is. So for people who are not Christians and don't believe what you believe, I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what the Muslims think I shouldn't draw the Prophet Muhammad. That's like your opinion, man, but I'm not Muslim. And you think, well, women shouldn't have an abortion. Then you don't have an abortion, right? I'm not interested in your Sharia law, whether you're Muslim or you're Catholic. In this case, it was the Catholic Church particularly that pushed forward on this bill. By the way, you're even wrong about your own Bible. You never even read it. In the Bible, it says that it is pro-abortion. God, it says if your wife cheated on you,
give her a potion, and if you think she cheated on you, and if she aborts the baby, great. It means she did cheat on you, and it's a good thing we killed that baby. Read the Bible. It's in Numbers. I didn't say that. God said that. Okay.
Give your wife a potion? That's
Yes.
a horrible thing to do.
Of course. And it's back 2,000 years ago. The hot toxic thing they gave her almost certainly poisoned her, whether she cheated or didn't cheat.
Right.
Okay?
She dies, and she was telling the truth.
Yeah.
The baby dies. She was like, how does it work again?
Yeah. So you should not impose your religion on the rest of us because we're not in your religion. Or even if we are, we don't necessarily have the same interpretation as you do. If you try to impose your religion on others, that is, in a lot of ways, Sharia law, or what you would call Sharia law. Sharia law is actually just the doctrines of Islam in practical life, some of which are perfectly fine, some of which are horrific, right? And like Christianity, you've got your doctrines, some of which are perfectly fine, and some of which are horrific, and we don't have an interest in your Sharia law, especially when it imprisons innocent women for 30 years after they've been raped.
And if I can make one other point, I mean, obviously the situation in El Salvador is far worse than it is for people in America. And yet, I think a lot of people who've been paying attention to politics over the past decade, and especially women, probably aware that there are crazy challenges to abortion rights in states across the country where they keep dialing back how late you can get it to just ridiculous amounts where you are in the heart of most women wouldn't even know that they were pregnant when the time limit is cut off.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, those are thankfully struck down, not all of them. But like try in Texas to get an abortion right now. I mean, like if you're able to, theoretically, look forward to driving 500 miles and having to do it 2 days in a row and all that. Right. And a lot of these challenges that are thankfully getting struck down, thankfully it's by like district court judges that are right now weren't appointed by Donald Trump, and the Supreme Court theoretically would protect a woman's right to choose. But after a few more years of Donald Trump appointing those federal judges, and God forbid if 1 or 2 retirements came in the Supreme Court, it is not impossible to imagine that in the span of a week or two, we could be looking at, for a lot of American women in El Salvador, situation going on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We got to take a quick break, guys. And when we come back, I promise you much lighter stories, including what China's doing about porn. I suspect you're going to be against it when we return. All right, we're back on the Young Turks. I don't have time for a lot of tweets, but I obviously have to read this one. Michael Nathan says, Cenk is getting more ripped, actually. Show that chest one more time. I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying. Thanks a lot for that, Michael. Yeah, that's actually not happening.
You're the ones who knock her.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, and Michael, you're technically wrong. I'm doing nothing but gaining weight, but thank you for trying. And Bernice Bander says, living under
bulking, Cenk.
Oh, I see.
That's the first part.
Yeah. Michael Neighbors, I'm sorry, Bernice Bander says, living under half the poverty level, fresh berries are a rare treat. TYT Live makes existence tolerable. Get 1 month free. TYTnetwork.com/join. Thank you, Bernice, for saying that. And this is a good time to do it because you're going to get to watch the Joe Manchin interview live as well as Keith Ellison. They're both next week. Don't miss them if you're a member. And go to TYTnetwork.com/join and put the promo code FREETYT, and you will get a free month of membership.
Okay. And berries.
No, we are not throwing in the berries.
I wasn't sure what the berries.
Blueberries. We're eating summer berries.
I think that's where she was going. She's eating berries and watching us. Thank you, Bernice.
Great Friday afternoon.
And member shout-outs are William Martin and Stephanie Foster. We thank our members every day, 2 of you guys at a time. Thank you, guys. Okay, what's next, John?
Okay, we got a little bit of fun for you, maybe. China has launched the next phase on their war on internet porn. They recently put out a report with a threat to potentially close down the 3 largest live stream providing services inside of China. Now, important note, these services are not exclusively or even necessarily or largely about porn. We're going to get into what the threat to porn is. But these companies, this report, the threat to them is important for them. Sina Weibo, iFang, and Akfun all saw their stock prices fall after that report. Weibo saw its stock fall 6 percentage points, which is worth $1 billion. Normally you need some sort of Donald Trump tweet to take that much off of a company's stocks. And so, look, these are services that are important. A lot of people use them. We'll get into the stats. And it could be that theoretically this is China. Like, there are political ramifications to any sort of social media or mass communication, but some don't think that that's what this is about. Andy Tian, the Asia Innovations Group CEO, said it's all about the porn. That's the main thing, the porn. The government has let it go for a while, but now it's getting out of hand. Understand, all internet porn is technically illegal in China, and they've even gone into banning things that don't seem like they'd necessarily be porn. Like last year, they banned live streaming of erotic banana eating. Now, if you don't know what that looks like, here you go.
Oh my God. Okay.
Who's making those noises? Is there just like someone in the corner, or does she re-record that? I love it.
Yeah, I like it. It's got a voice track on it, right? So, okay. I bought the soundtrack to that video.
Yeah.
So
It's illegal now. Don't try to bring it into China.
number one, that's awesome. Number two, let's be honest.
Wait, which part? I'm sorry. Which part is awesome?
The
smoothie?
the
banana?
The erotic banana eating is. I love that we invented that as a form of exciting guys.
Yeah.
And by the way, 80% of the people doing the videos are women. 75% of the people of all live streams, 75% of the people watching are men.
Okay. Yeah, it works out.
Yeah, it is funny. And so I love that. I think that was one of the funniest videos I've ever seen. Number two, China, you've got to allow porn. Otherwise, the only option people have is this kind of insane softcore porn.
Yeah.
Like, if you ban actual porn, people are like, oh, wow, look at her eat that banana. Like, let them have real porn.
Otherwise, we're gonna have to watch that for a while, like the smoothie making. I want to clarify though, like I did a story in Japan similar to this. Like, I think it's not even really about the sexual nature of this. It's a lot of this is just about hanging out.
Yeah.
And hanging out with this pretty lady who's gonna,
Make a smoothie.
make a smoothie and dance around and talk to me for a little bit. I mean, which I'm gonna play devil's advocate and say maybe people get offline if they can't watch anymore. Like, cool, go out in the real world and talk to people.
I think that
we tried that for centuries. It didn't
Oh,
work.
right.
No. People just want to go inside. As you point out, eating food is another big thing, not just in China, but in a lot of countries. It's a surprise that it hasn't become bigger in America, considering how much we like to eat.
Because we're real porn. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, but again, I agree with Francesca. I don't think that it's like the guys who watch the cam girls. Like, they give a bunch of money, and theoretically some of these girls make up to $1 million, which is a lot in America or China. They give a lot of money to these girls, like $1,000 for one session or whatever. And the girl's making so much money. If the guy just wanted porn, he could easily go to a different website in America where it is legal. It would be in higher definition, and he could see whatever he wants. I agree with Francesca. I think that it's about the connection. I think there are a lot of people, always, before computers, who didn't feel connected to people, who felt too awkward, or they weren't being fulfilled or whatever. And I think for a lot of people, this fills that need, and I don't think that's a small thing. I think that feeling comfortable inside of your life, satisfied and connected to people, fighting that loneliness, that is perhaps one of the biggest things that we can help people to accomplish.
Like, we're losing track. We're losing track that this is the oldest thing in the world. This is called a peep show. Remember in New York, they'd go and they'd put 25 cents in, and the thing would go up, and you would watch the girl, and the girl would make eye contact with you, which is horrifically awkward, if you ask me. Same thing as strip clubs, where they look at you, and you're like, oh, please stop looking. Okay, this is getting weird. Anyway, but people, yes, they like it, but it's both. It's sex, and it's the interaction. That's why people flock to it. But by the way, to John's earlier point, the real reason China's doing this, yes, they're against porn. Yes, they're against political dissent. And it looks like they singled out these three giant companies. No, the real thing is they single out the big companies, and then they get rid of all the small companies, and they tell the big companies, you better play ball, do whatever the government tells you to do, and be safe. And that's how they regulate the internet. Okay, that's the real attempt here. All right, guys, much love. We have another segment for you if you're not listening on the radio. Come right back. All right, back on Young Turks. Look, for those of you who haven't caught on, we're on Sirius Satellite Radio now. That's been going on for a couple of months. And so some of the breaks are a little bit longer during the show. But if we take the break at 5 o'clock and say we're coming back for you guys, we're gonna come right back. So we're right back here, and let's give you the rest of the stories.
Okay. It's widely known that in Hollywood, as in a lot of other fields across America, women are generally paid less than men. But in a recent interview, Emma Stone revealed how it was actually her male co-stars that made certain sacrifices to allow her to receive something approaching pay equity. She's doing interviews about this upcoming movie, Battle of the Sexes, where she plays Billie Jean King, and she had this to say: at our best right now, we're making 80 cents to the dollar. In Hollywood, it's a difficult system because it depends on the kinds of roles you're a part of, the size of your role, how much the movies make at the box office, and so much of that changes your pay throughout your career. So I go more to the blanket issue that women in general are making forfeits at best. So that's sort of like the base level. But she said, in my career so far, I've needed my male co-stars to take a pay cut so that I may have parity with them. And that's something they do for me because they feel it's what's right and fair. That's something that's also not discussed necessarily, that our getting equal pay is going to require people to selflessly say that's what's fair. And interesting that this is not just a thing that theoretically helps out inside of one movie because of the way that you can parlay pay to later roles. She said, if my male co-star, who has a higher quote than me but believes we are equal, takes a pay cut so that I can match him, that changes my quote in the future and changes my life. She added that she's been so grateful to her male co-stars who have adjusted their pay rates. Now, she, as of right now, I haven't seen where she's identified any, which makes sense because theoretically identifying one or two would identify that the others hadn't. And I'm sure that this is more widespread than just the experience of Emma Stone, but that is a good thing to see. It shouldn't be necessary. It should be the film companies that are accurately paying people for what they contribute to a movie, what they bring, and all that. But until they catch up, thankfully, there are some actors at least who are stepping up.
Did Gosling? Yes.
That's the immediate
I mean,
thing
everyone's
that you think
just
about.
like, come on, who won
I would
the
guess
Oscar?
yes, but we don't know.
Yeah,
that's true.
So, yeah, I thought it was Gosling too, which if it is, bless his heart. It could be Keaton. So,
look at his small role in that movie.
That's funny. This is not that easy, right? Because, and Emma Stone acknowledges that. She's like, look, there's a lot of factors. There's how much money did your previous movies make? How much perceived star power do you have based on some on just BS gut instinct of the executive, which is where the sexism could come into play. Some was actual metrics. So let's say that it was Ryan Gosling. We don't know. We're guessing here. Well, Ryan Gosling, I think, arguably is a bigger star than Emma Stone. On the other hand, Emma Stone's a giant star, and in this movie that she's playing a woman who fought for equal rights.
Yeah,
I mean, how is that for ironic? I don't know what her pay here was, but if they didn't offer her equal pay as Stephen Carell, who's playing Bobby Riggs, when the whole point of the movie is that women are as good, if not better, in some places, and obviously she won that match, that would be deeply ironic. And she arguably, now off of La La Land, is the bigger star. And you almost never hear of the woman getting paid more than the man. And so, and her point, by the way, is she sticks up for men completely. She's like, if it wasn't for the guys who had done that, I never would be in this place. Right. So she's like, I always want to include men in the conversation and their voices and here, etc. So she's great on it in every way. But she says, look at the big picture. So on any case, it's hard to decide why they did that at that particular movie. On average, female actors or actresses get paid 80% of what guys in similar stature get paid.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, then that goes up to the top. Even like you're talking Nicole Kidman too. I mean, and Angelina Jolie. I can't remember the exact stat, but like not getting as much as a Tom Cruise, or not even a Tom Cruise. Like like a lesser, I don't know, Ryan Reynolds or something like this. It's like what. So.
Poor Ryan Reynolds is getting thrown to the bus.
Don't
He's a star. Did you watch Deadpool?
I
Great
did.
movie.
but just to say, I mean, we're talking millions here. It's all because no one really deserves this amount of money. However, being that they do already make this, I think it's sad to me that it's on individuals to try and fill the void back to the story of like the democracy vouchers. It's just like, we've come to this. We've come to individual actors having to take it upon themselves because our industry just can't, give equal pay to try and, what am I trying to say? You know,
Bring equilibrium.
Yeah.
bring equilibrium. You know,
Yes.
I get paid more than Jake.
And what's always makes no sense to me is there are some areas where theoretically women make more. You can think of some particular things that are clearly like it's a male audience or it's a male clientele or something. And it always seemed to me like outside of maybe action movies, if anybody is being sort of incentivized to come in and watch a movie based on the gender of a person there, aren't men going to be more manipulated by that than women? Like, aren't men going to go to see an Emma Stone more than women would go to see a Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds? It seems like the sort of area where there should naturally be more equality than there already is.
Yeah.
And Hollywood is supposed to be such a liberal place. The fact that there is such a pay disparity there, like, how can you imagine progress on some far more conservative areas if even in the arts, in liberal California, we can't get equality?
I think it's interesting where like managers come in. Like, you know, everyone's just like Hollywood's just kind of a feeding frenzy off of the stardom of, you know, celebrities, but it's like, are these people not being represented? Like, is it just sort of an industry-wide agreement? Like, yeah, but you know, sure. And I think your point is well taken. Ryan Gosling is arguably more of a star than Emma Stone, but like
Maybe not anymore.
Maybe not anymore, right?
But when they cast that movie.
Exactly, when they cast it, but it's just like, is there just sort of that agreement among the industry and among managers and reps to just like, well,
Yeah, and
woman,
right.
woman.
And when you talk about sexism, it doesn't mean, and this is where people, maybe on the right wing, instead of take like great offense, it doesn't mean you're an evil person, you hate women, and so you wanted to make sure they got less. It just might be the stereotypes that we have in our heads that we don't even realize we have. Like, maybe we all assume that Ryan, including me, assume that Ryan Gosling is the bigger star because we've been taught the big stars are guys. Right. Tom Cruise, Will Smith, whoever, right? And so then we make that assumption. And when executives make that assumption, it has huge consequences. And so to John's point, it's, you know, there's a talking point about liberal Hollywood. You know, some of the actors are definitely liberal, no question about that. But the people who make the final decisions are the executives. Yeah. And they are executives in giant, multi-billion-dollar corporations. So they make decisions based on the bottom line, and oftentimes very conservative actors. In that case, I don't mean as in stage, but I mean as in people taking action.
Scott Baio.
So that's a good counterpoint. Not a lot of actors are liberal. That's why you have to find a Scott Baio. You got to go reach all the way down to a Scott Baio. But yes, the executives are oftentimes very conservative and not at all what is cast as liberal Hollywood.
Okay, why don't we turn to something that could be in a movie, maybe? An inconvenient truth we're going to address right now. Antarctica is absolutely huge, but it could become just a little bit smaller any day now. What will become possibly the largest iceberg in human history could break off from Antarctica literally any minute. It could be while we're filming this. Let's bring up this graphic.